Well, a very good morning to you. Welcome on the AM show. It's another day, another opportunity to serve for God and country. We love you. Thank you for making the time to join us as we kickstart this show. Bernice and Benjamin at your service. Now, coming up shortly, the news followed by the news review, and for that we'll be joined by development economist and senior lecturer at the University for Development Studies, Dr. Michael Ayamga. He is our guest. And of course, as always, the pattern AM Sports will follow, and Mubarak Haruna will be blessing us with the latest sporting news. And then after that, we get into the big stories. There's a row over the acceptance of the 2024 budget statement. Guess what? While the majority thinks it's been approved, though they staged a walkout, the minority thinks it's yet to receive approval for government's fiscal policy. Now, it hangs in the balance. Today, we take a look at that together with other issues. Joining us for that conversation, Sam George, he's Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram. He'll be joining us on that all-important conversation. But also coming up, teacher unions are asking the Ghana Education Service to reconsider the reopening date for fresh students entering the senior high school system. Why? They say the reopening period of study and vacation dates are too close to allow parents and guardians enough time to prepare. We've got that on our table as well, coupled with all the myriad issues that have bedeviled the placement system over time. Over 108,000 were not placed this year. There are processes for them. Why does it have to be like this every year? Again, we'll be hosting the 1998 batch of Prempeh College. They are celebrating 25 years since leaving school. They'll be walking through their activities that they have planned with us, and we'll be hearing from them later on the show. But as always, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know what your thoughts are about this show right here, because it is your show. On that note, we settle for the news up next. Now, and in our first story, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has taken on the Judiciary for some rulings made concerning suspected corruption and corruption-related cases being investigated. According to Kisie Jabing, the court is exhibiting some disregard for his office's powers with what he sees as hasty dismissiveness of its cases.
Of the press, just as it is essential that anyone accused of a crime should have free access to the courts so that he may be duly acquitted if found not guilty of the offense with which he or she is charged, it is also of the utmost importance that the judiciary should not interfere with investigation and prosecution authorities in respect of matters which are within their statutory powers. It will be gravely inimical to public policy, the fight against corruption, and the administration of justice if the court stepped into this arena to decide who should be investigated, who should be prosecuted, and who should not. That is not the function of adjudication. The danger of this startling decision is again quite obvious. A judge has in the process granted two persons immunity from investigation, and in effect, immunity from prosecution. This decision opens up a calamitous deluge, as every person under criminal investigation will be encouraged to take out suits to injunct investigation and prosecution bodies from investigating and prosecuting them. Indeed, there is a live case involving the OSP now, in which someone has taken the cue to seek to injunct the OSP from investigating them. The real and present danger looms largely on the consideration that by so doing, persons under investigation would end up conscripting the judiciary to clothe them with immunity from investigation and prosecution. Members of the press, I do not intend to sound as though I am predicting doom, but we are facing doom. And this is it. With this development, it will not be long. A suspected murderer or armed robber would boldly walk to court with the unthinkable prayer that the court should injunct law enforcement agencies from investigating him.
Well, ahead of the new Patriotic Party's parliamentary primaries and orphan constituencies, the former Bono East Regional Minister, Akufo-Addo, is confident of winning the Atebubu Amantin seat after becoming the first ever member of parliament on the ticket of the NPP in the 2016 polls. The former legislator, who is among the 23 aspirants in the 8 constituencies, says he is ready to give incumbent MP Sanja Nanja a showdown in the 2024 general election. And Asabit has the rest of the story.
The Atebubu Amantin constituency is one of 8 orphan constituencies out of the Bono East region's 11 parliamentary seats. The constituency since its creation has been an easy turf for the National Democratic Congress, with the party winning both presidential and parliamentary polls until the year 2016, when the party lost in the parliamentary polls to the NPP's Kofi-Addo. Mr. Amoakohene, who won the seat on his first attempt, polled 19,218 as against the incumbent Sanja Nanja's 18,151 votes. He, however, lost the seat on his second attempt to the former legislator Sanja Nanja in the 2020 polls with a margin of nearly 10,000 votes. Mr. Kofi-Addo, who doubles as a former Member of Parliament and the first ever Bono East Regional Minister, is today one of 3 persons contesting to represent the NPP in the Atebubu Amantin constituency. He is confident that with his track record in the constituency, he has what it takes to reclaim the Atebubu Amantin parliamentary seats for the new Patriotic Party.
In any election, you have to be serious and compete keenly. And that is what I'm doing. And lucky for me, because I've had opportunity to lead the people, I think I have a lot of evidence on the ground. And fortunately for me, Nana Akufo-Addo is not contesting directly. So I claim the work that we have done, and it serves as competitive advantage for me against the other 2 candidates.
He, however, noted that the NPP stands tall when it comes to developmental projects in the Atebubu Amantin constituency, adding that gives him a strong advantage over his NDC counterpart.
Based on records, that is my competitive advantage over him. In fact, he's not just been an MP first and second term, he's been a DCE also at the place. And trust me, the records are on the grounds, and I know both media knows my grounds very well. If you talk about development, and if I'm being truthful, I think we can claim about 85% to 90% as against him and the NDC since 1992. And I believe this is my stronger bid, and I'm going to beat him, entirely.
The 2024 parliamentary elections will be the 3rd contest between Kofi-Addo and Sanja Nanja should both candidates win their respective primaries, and Mr. Kofi-Addo is confident of winning the next contest, adding that he'll give Sanja Nanja a showdown.
Since 1992, Atebubu constituency, now Atebubu Amantin, has been for only NDC. I took it for the first time for MPP, and the vote margin at the time was almost 10,000, and I squashed it with a plus of 1,096, and he also came up to beat me almost 10,000. So I would say that this is a final World Cup match. So 2024, I believe that I am going to give Sanja Nanja a showdown, and we'll continue with the good work that we are doing for Ghana.
Anna Sabit, Joy News, Atebubu.
Now, the Northern Regional Director of Education, Hajia Katumi Natogma Atta, has disclosed that over 7,300 children have transitioned into the mainstream school in the Northern region for the first quarter. This figure, she said, represents about 79%. Hajia Katumi disclosed this at the Ghana Educational Outcomes Project transition in Savelugu in the Northern region.
The Ghana Education Outcomes Project, or JOB, is a 3-year project aimed at getting about 70,000 out-of-school children back to school. It is also to help improve learning outcomes for about 98,000 children across 600 primary schools. Ajia Katumi said the transition is not just to show the success of the project, but also government's commitment to ensuring no child is left behind.
Today, GEOB has witnessed that out of the 7,578 enrolled children, 7,364 children have been transitioned into the mainstream school improvement program in the first cohort, representing about 79%. We recognize the success of our collective effort in ensuring inclusive and quality education for all. This transition signifies not only the academic achievement of our learners, but also our commitment to leaving no one behind in the pursuit of knowledge.
The project coordinator of JOB, Ajia Nana Fatima Hai, adored a former beneficiary of the accelerated learning who is currently a lecturer at the UDS to encourage the learners to stay in school.
To show the importance of accelerated learning program and to encourage our youth who are currently here to stay in school, we are really hoping that the total number who have been transitioned will stay in school. We have in our midst a beneficiary of accelerated learning program, one Dr. Hafiz Suleimana Abubakar. Without the accelerated learning program, he would not have set foot in a classroom, and now he has a PhD and he is teaching at UDS.
The Chief Director at the Ministry of Education, Mamile Andrews, who represented the Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Osei Edichum, said it was heartwarming to announce that over 17,300 children have graduated.
Even though there were teething challenges due to the change in the academic year, today we are gathered here to witness the transition of a sample of cohort 1 learners who are being transitioned into GEOB mainstream schools. It is so heartwarming to say that the service providers have been able to graduate a total of 17,340 learners from the accelerated learning program, and they are being transitioned into GEOB mainstream schools to further their studies. The Ministry of Education applauds the FCDO, the World Bank, the EOF technical consultants, all service providers, the management of GEOB, and other stakeholders for making this transition a reality.
The beneficiaries received school uniforms, sandals, learning materials, among others.
In our next story, leading radio stations in the Ashanti region, Love 99.5 FM and Inshira 104.5 FM, have set forth to heighten road safety awareness to reduce accidents during the Yuletide. The annual public service campaign is in collaboration with road safety authorities to reduce the rampancy of accidents. The annual Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative educates motorists, pedestrians, and the general public on safety measures to prevent road accidents. Here's a report by Clinton Yabua.
The Love FM and Insure FM Road Safety Campaign is in partnership with the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, the National Road Safety Authority, and the Ghana Police Service. The Kumasi Road Traffic 2022 report disclosed that road traffic crashes in Kumasi rose from 1,255 to 1,550 between 2021 and 2022, representing a 24% increment. Drivers and other road users trooped to the VIP bus terminal station at Asafo to access education on road safety at the event's launch.
DVLA is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and so we want to highlight that process. We know that the year is coming to an end, and accident also becomes prevalent, and so we also want to highlight this part so that drivers will be cautious as we approach the Christmas. We introduced the eye test by the certified optometrists. Before, it didn't used to be there. Sometimes there was debate, confusion, argument about our output of the results we do. So now the people who are certified are the ones who are doing the eye test, and so we know that there's no doubt about the vision or the results of the eye test that is coming.
Regional Head of Police, Motor, Transport and Traffic Directorate, Chief Superintendent Edu Buahin said enforcement will be heightened among road users and drivers.
See, road safety issues, as we are doing the education, the publicity is also one of the key. And then when we are also pack it with enforcement, then those who are not going to abide by the rule will be made, they will be compelled to comply with the road traffic regulations.
The Regional Director of the Road Safety Authority, Akufo-Addo, is entreating entities to link with the media to heighten education.
Everybody needs to support the media because the media plays a very important role in ensuring safety for all road users, especially disseminating information on speeding, pedestrian safety and motorcycle usage. In a region like this, we have issues with speeding, as I said earlier, motorcycle safety and pedestrian safety. So through the media, we are very hopeful and confident that a lot of people will get the message and understand the need to be safe on the highways in the region.
The event was climaxed with a free eye screening of Asafo VIP bus drivers by the DVLA. Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yeboah.
Now, in our next story, the Center for Communication and Culture has called on Ghanaians to patronize made-in-Ghana goods and services. The center says this is to ensure we contribute our quota to the economic progress of the country. Executive Director of the Center for Communication and Culture, Alumni, was speaking at a seminar on natural hair advocacy. Jacqueline Ansomayeboa has more in this report.
In Ghana, your hair isn't typically who you are. Of styling adventures, a return to self is making the cut. Executive Director of the Center for Communication and Culture, Emil Ashon, has revealed that his outfit is committed to ensuring that we conserve the foreign exchange by maintaining natural hair and consuming made-in-Ghana products.
Yeah, we are passionate about what Africans ingest into their system. Culture is very important. And why are we battling against imported food as against Ghanaian food? Why are we now projecting, our presidents are now begging people to wear Ghanaian clothes? It is because this thing is so long ago. Our minds have been taken over. And so therefore now, if you tell a woman, and I'm not advocating that people should not wear Brazilian hair, but for heaven's sake, why do we prefer to look like whites?
The overlord of Inyinase Basake, Nana Inu Ano Amiye, the second, has also revealed that the use of chemicals in this air is likely to cause damage to the body.
There was a research that was done in Nigeria not too long ago, about 10 years ago, that came up that a lot of the chemicals that women put on their head that gets into their system give them fibroids. And by the time these kindergarten kids, age 2, when they start putting on all these chemicals into their body, by the time they get to age 18, they start getting fibroids, and they don't know where those fibroids are coming from. Because for us, when we were kids, women who have fibroids were much older, in their 40s and 50s.
An advocate for natural hair, Stephanie Apia, also emphasized the need for natural hair agenda to be pushed further to ensure that the health of most women is safeguarded.
So I don't think the advocacy has been enough. Although people are getting convinced to embrace their hair, it it has to be pushed more. The agenda has to be pushed more.
The natural hair trend is not new, and some have embraced it. For Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
And on that hairy note, we cap off the news this morning. But stay with us, the news review is right up next. Well, thank you very much for joining the conversation this morning. We get into the newspapers to let you know what exactly is happening. We'll shortly be joined by our guest development economist at the University for Development Studies. I'm talking about Dr. Michael Ayamga. But before he connects with us, let's find out what the newspapers have by way of the headlines. So the Daily Graphic, that's where I'm going to start. By the way, what do you make of Kisieja being the special prosecutor and his work so far? And do you feel anything different is happening from when, for example, Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amidu was actually head of that office? Do you think things have become any better in terms of the person at the helm of affairs and what he is doing, and also in terms of logistics, finances, the right atmosphere to work? And now the special prosecutor is even pointing at the judiciary and saying, look, it appears you guys don't really understand my work and the powers I have, and you are actually impacting my work negatively with the decisions you are putting out. What is your take? Share with us via the live feed. If you go on Joy News on Facebook, just look for videos and then you'll see the news review there. Then you can share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear from you. And as we read out your comments, hopefully it will help shape the national picture. Just season your comments with the right levels of decorum. If you write anything insulting and all of that, you can guarantee I will not read them. But before I get to my guest, this segment, as always, is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here's what they're offering you if you're a man, like I am. They're offering prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, like Bernice Abubedu Lanza, they're offering you fertility screening for free, gratis. All you have to do is make your way to any of their branches and get screened. Here in the crowd, they're at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Then there's Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswe and Siamanzima. Their call lines are you ready? 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review. Do I have Dr. Ayamga with me now? All right. So my invitation has been thrown to you already. I want you to connect with me and let me know what you think about this entire saga of, not saga of the returnee, that reminds me of KSM, but this entire saga of the OSP's office and everything that has been happening in between. It makes for very interesting assessment. But we'll get into that story. OSP bears teeth, probes state land sales payrolls, and all of those featuring as the banner headline of the Daily Graphic. Majority stages walkout in Parliament over budget debate. That story also featuring there. State agencies save $30 million from Ghana card merger. That story also featuring prominently. And then there's special supplement on Farmers' Day. That is also in there, Friday. On the back page of the paper, Vice President launches 100-day countdown to African Games. And there's also stop using woven bags for bagging cement. EPA directs manufacturing companies. All of those stories there as far as the Daily Graphic is concerned. Like I said, if you want to join the feed or share your thoughts, just go to Join News on Facebook and then look for videos. Then you can connect with us. So let's get into some of those stories. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has commenced investigations into suspected corruption and corruption-related offences in government payroll systems. The Special Prosecutor, Akufo-Addo, who announced this at a press conference in Accra yesterday, said the investigations were being done in collaboration with the Controller and Accountant General's Department. Now, already, he said a joint team of staff from the OSP and the CAGD had been formed to spearhead the investigations. Quoting him, he says, "The assessment and investigation are especially aimed at isolating and removing non-existent names, recovering wrongful payments, and the prosecution of persons suspected to be culpable of any offences," he said. The investigation and assessment will cover all banks and employees on government payroll, he said. In respect of state lands, he says the investigation covers all lands and properties that fall under the direct stewardship of the Lands Commission, the Ministry of Works and Housing, all other ministries, the State Housing Company, state-owned companies, and other state agencies. And let me wrap with his criticism of judges. Mr. Addo, who was speaking at his first major engagement with the media since taking office 2 years ago, bemoaned what he described as a trend of, quote, dismissive attitudes from some judges towards the work of the OSP, which was hampering the fight against corruption. He said the OSP, in compliance with its mandate, regularly updated the public on its operations, cases in court, as well as its opinion on judicial decisions affecting its work. I'll not give you the entire scoop. Of course, I want you to get the Daily Graphic newspaper and get the thoughts. But especially on these points he raises in respect of the banks, the payroll, and people getting paid sums of money that they don't deserve. We've seen that even at the very place where we should have some protection. The finance ministry itself has been mired in this in the past. I still remember those three people, someone pulling or drawing over 20,000 CDs, another person about 11 or 8,000, another person. Imagine these sums of money, taking them for about 2 years. And we are claiming we didn't detect that these people did not even, these faceless people did not even work with the finance ministry. It's there in the records. I remember. So all of these problems have to be addressed. These are the same problems leading to the gargantuan losses every year to corruption. I'm talking about the $4 to $6 billion that we use. If we had that kind of money in our kitty, there would be no reason to go to the IMF. Now, before I go to Dr. Ayamga, this bit about state lands as well. Places like Roman Ridge, state lands, state property, state developments, Labone, cantonments, and the rest. I rest my case. If you know, you know. And I'm very glad that the special prosecutor is going to go into this, and I hope he goes into it to the final, whatever, to the dregs of this drink, that he goes to the very bottom of those matters, because some of the things we know. Dr. Ayamga, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Morning, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. Better late than never, at least because the connection did not allow us to see you earlier. At least we have you joining the conversation. I've just been talking about the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and I don't know whether you followed his presser yesterday as he spoke on myriad matters. He's talking about banks and the payroll system as far as, government agencies, among others, are concerned. In the past we've had, and we keep having it when the Auditor General's report comes up, where faceless people, even at the Ministry of Finance, if you recall, are being given money when in fact they don't even work at these places. All of those are there. Then there's the issue of state land, which, according to many, investigative reports, point to the fact that they are being sold, even as far as, those parks that we are supposed to have, all the way from decades ago, the parks and gardens, the parks we are supposed to have in the city. Some of them nearly got sold in the past, as we've heard. And then he's also criticized judges that they have a dismissive attitude towards his work. How do you react to that story?
It's a mixed bag for me, Ben, this morning. I have always said I'm not a fan of the special prosecutor because I felt he more or less allowed some people to get away with flimsy technicalities whilst pursuing the small fishes that had no impact on our corruption perception and also the incidence of corruption in this country. But I also shared his frustration, and yesterday I was inclined to think that he was genuinely frustrated and has been trying to do his best, but the judicial system, and for that matter, the establishment were using whatever means they could to frustrate him. So yesterday, I felt it. Particularly payroll is the old demon in this country, be it temporary job measures that the government has created, or even the good old payroll system controlled by the Department of Controller, Accountant General. People manage to put other people in there who are not working and they are drawing salaries. Arrangements are made and people are sitting somewhere taking money and sharing down the line and up the command system. So I can understand the frustration. He seems to be alone out there when it comes to payroll fraud and some of the more institutionalized forms of corruption, like over and under invoicing and people drawing on allowances and per diems that they do not deserve. He seems to be alone out. He needs the support of the system to be able to fight this.
Is he getting that support from where you sit? Is he getting that support?
You see, as I'm here, I find it extremely difficult to agree that I will have to work and depend on the resources I have, or go the extra mile to bring in more resources so that I can make myself a little more comfortable and also benefit my institution, while others sit down and then mismanage the same thing. In fact, there are sometimes I'm speaking with my deputy and I'm telling him I feel uncomfortable sometimes going after resources when others just sit down and they use their pen and then the chair they occupy to divert some of these resources into their pockets. And it is discouraging. You have to sometimes leave your families for long periods of time to go work for additional resources. And so he's not alone there. Some of us think that we need to streamline these things. It is the lack of transparency in our systems that allow these things to fester. And until we are able to create systems of reporting corrupt acts that do not lead to some form of victimization, we are going to continuously have these things. You can't just walk a government institution and report corrupt act, and the next day you are not transferred.
Yeah.
If you are an individual, a public individual, a new guy there, and you get to stop your boss from drawing some allowance, he's going to get you.
You're going to get victimized.
To go and in the university or some places they tell you to go and sit at the archives and also maybe sit at the library where you are not going to get any of the so-called side issues. So it's not everybody, but I think that our society also glorifies some of these things. And I've been saying the clergy, the religious institutions that always tend to glorify every big man with money without asking themselves whether, given the position he or she occupies, he could come out with such money. And they get their front row seats. So the church and maybe the mosque have become image laundering places where people make money and go and launder their image and that money in the churches. So once you don't feel guilty for what you are doing, why should you stop? And so I can understand when it comes to this one, the special prosecutor is out there against a whole establishment. And I share his frustration.
When you say against the whole establishment, so what are you talking about? Are you talking of the different arms of government and everything? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I think it's the different arms of government. You see, Ben, we can look at it administratively and ask ourselves, what can we do to ensure that somebody can just walk into an establishment, relay a report, expose some act without being found out?
Right.
You may say, okay, you want to report to your immediate boss, who is part of the deal. He's in on everything. So until we create those structures, we can't. We also have to ensure that we have some form of accountability. I think that there is so much discretionary authority when it comes to handling funds, especially in state institutions. And when you are reading the Auditor General's report or you are listening to the appearances by heads of institutions on their audit reports, you just get shocked that we have that amount of discretion in our institutions, allowing people to more or less divert and change funds into activities that allow them to siphon. That is always the beginning. The beginning is the discretionary power that some heads of institutions have to move funds to transparent activities, one that you can easily check on the spending, to other things that you cannot monitor. And at the end of the day, you get there, they say fuel, you get to any station and you buy fuel, they ask you how much should I write on the receipt, and you say, give me an empty one, and you get one. So this is where we live in, and as I always say, we can't eat our cake and have it. If we want everybody to be rich, you should expect some corruption to fester.
All right. Let me get into these stories and then we can say goodbye to the Daily Graphic newspaper. Majority stages walkout in Parliament over budget debate. And the majority in Parliament yesterday staged a walkout ahead of the approval of the budget statement and the economic policy of government for the year ending December 31, 2024. The walkout came after the majority and minority leaders had taken turns to wrap up the week-long debate, and the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, had also made a presentation in the House. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagman, then put a voice vote on the motion and declared that the ayes by the majority had it. But the Speaker's ruling was blatantly challenged by the minority on the grounds that there was no distinctive difference between the ayes and the nays by the minority. Now, basing his challenge on Order 1132, the Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Buah, called for a head count or division. The Speaker heeded the request by the Deputy Minority Leader and instructed the clerks at the table to conduct the head count. Mr. Bagman told the members of the House that the names of each MP would be called out for him or her to stand up. But the majority strongly objected to the Speaker's decision on grounds that he had earlier declared the ayes in favor of the motion and should stand by his decision and disallow the head count to avoid any possible defeat or having the motion lost, given that there were about 3 majority members of Parliament who were believed to be absent. The majority told the Speaker they would not have anything to do with the voting process and consequently walked out of the chamber amid booing from the minority MPs. Before that, the majority and minority leaders, Osaiche Mensah-Bonsu and Dr. Cassiel Atuban-Forsen, had wrapped up the 9-day debate on the 2024 budget statement and economic policy of the government. So that's how it ended. You are in the thick of economics and finance. Of course, when there is a challenge in Parliament, that's the natural process that follows. Then there is a head count, but the majority walked out. Let me just add this story and then let you have your reactions. State agencies saved $30 million from Ghana card merger. Nearly $30 million is being saved each year by the various state institutions that have successfully integrated their systems with the National Identification Authority database. Now, the savings are being made from the absence of the procurement for new equipment, non-printing of new sector-specific cards, and non-duplication of services, as the Ghana card now serves as the sole identity for health insurance, social security, taxation, and business transactions. That, of course, is according to Professor Ken Atafua, Executive Secretary of the NIA. Quick reactions to these stories.
Yes, first on the walkout by the majority, I felt that the Speaker did what he ought to do as far as the standing orders of Parliament are concerned. And I was particularly surprised that they staged the walkout. But staging a walkout is part of the tools on your toolkit. If you know things are not going to go your way and you have a chance of preparing for another day, you need to do what you can. So I expect that the majority would walk out, given that they didn't have the numbers on the day to get the motion passed. And if they had stayed in, it means that the majority would have succeeded in completely shooting down the budget. Yes, there are a lot of challenges. I've already indicated that the budget was uninspiring, and if you were a businessman waiting for it to see some significant impact on your cost of doing business, you were not going to find it. It didn't do a lot for Ghanaians in terms of putting money in their pockets so that we could increase domestic spending and in effect, we demand that to boost businesses. So if you look at these things, I felt that the budget doesn't deserve to be passed. But as they always say, the minority will have their say, the majority have their way. It was just yesterday, the majority was not actually the majority in Parliament. They staged the walk now and tried to blame it on the Speaker, which I think was below the belt. But these are things we expect. When they have all their numbers, I'm sure they will in the camera cause this budget on Ghanaians. So it is just a temporary hold up. But at the end of the day, this budget is going to pass because of the numbers we have in Parliament.
But right now there's a little standoff because the majority says the budget has been passed, the minority says no, it's not been passed. Now, like I said, if you look at the processes of Parliament, these are allowed, and if a head count, if a voice vote is contested, a head count follows. But the majority walked out. It was clear they did not have the numbers, and they walked out on that. Where does that leave the budget? Has it been passed or not from where you sit?
The Speaker is the one that determines whether something is passed or not. And you can have a whole lot of interjections and processes in Parliament. There can be even a voting and somebody contends that the voting process was flawed, the counting was bad. And after the Speaker has even ruled, can say, okay, let's review the facts on the ground, and if it's found that the ruling was based on some wrong premise, it can be reversed. So I want to agree with the Speaker of Parliament and the clerks of Parliament that have the final say as to what has been passed and what has not been passed. And I don't think that the majority has the right to say that the Speaker shouldn't have reviewed it, should have allowed it to hold, because they felt that the majority didn't have the numbers on their side, and the usual ayes and nays did not actually reflect the balance of power on the day. So right. I want to agree with the majority. The truth is that the budget has not been passed. It was actually found that the majority didn't have the numbers to carry the day, and therefore required another approach to passing the budget, which the majority worked out and didn't allow it to materialize. So I would say that we don't have a budget.
Okay, we don't have a budget. That's according to Dr. Michael Ayamga. We don't have a budget. Let me just wrap with these headlines and then read this quote. I like going to them. In the political section of the Daily Graphic newspaper, page 17, NDC disqualifies Niyaboy from contesting Ododo Diodo primary, and then NPP orphan constituency primaries. Contest promises to be keen in Upper West, Central, and Northern regions. But this quote, it reminds me of both the NDC and the MPP. Winston Churchill, British politician, he says, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. This reflects the NDC in terms of free SHS, and I feel it also reflects the MPP in terms of a 24-hour economy. Makan. I see that sometimes we push against things, we rile against them for different reasons, but I see both parties in that. Now, the Ghanaian Times newspaper, drama in Parliament, majority walks out ahead of budget approval, accuses Speaker of playing to minority gallery. Veep plants tree to mark Accra 2023 100-day countdown. Whenever I hear of these tree planting exercises, I think recently, I don't know whether it's ahead of COP28, but our Lands and Natural Resources Minister talking big about forestry and all of that. But we all know the state of what our country is. Some of the forest cover we've lost in the last few years, we've never seen such a rampant loss of forest cover over the last, let's say, 10 years. And especially within this period, with Galamsey actually out there running amok, There's also La General Hospital will be completed on schedule, Finance Minister assures, and some court decisions against OSP, regressive and dismissive. That's according to Kisi Jabeng. I'll do the story on page 6 in respect of the La General Hospital. I've never been able to wrap my mind around what we've done to the people of La and its environs with pulling down the structure without having an adequate replacement. I can't recall, I can't even count the number of times in my previous, media experience and here where people have lamented this exact situation. Yet every time it is a lot of big talk. We'll do this, we'll do this. When will the people of La get their hospital back? When? So the story says, the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, has assured of the completion of the La General Hospital on schedule in order to provide the needed healthcare services to the La community and its environs. He said the project had been prioritized as part of government's broader plan to improve healthcare delivery in the country and the dedication to meeting the specified construction schedule. What happened to the first construction schedule, though, and the ones that are followed? And is it now, entering an electoral year, that it will be completed? Well, we pray that happens for the sake of the people of La and its environs. Any reaction to that?
Yes, Ben, you can see in this country, if you want your street light, the bulbs of your street lights replaced, you are going to wait for a long time. But if you have to have them replaced completely, the whole street light removed and another one installed, you are much likely to meet success faster. Why? One comes with a huge contract and a procurement process and its inherent benefits kick in. If it is just a small renovation, we don't do. So I am not surprised that the La Hospital was pulled down because of some minor technicality. I think that is the usual demon of one entity wanting to have a whole procurement process with a big chunk of resources involved and getting the rewards thereof. I think that the people suffering at the behest of a government agent seeking to benefit from his position rather than economic and health reasons. So I'm surprised that the minister, we didn't have the adequate resources in a time that we are at the IMF cap in hand begging for 3 billion. This hospital maybe could have gone on another year or two until the economy stabilized and other things, and then you bring it down. You go pull down this massive health facility that is very crucial to the health of the people of La. Then you don't have a replacement. Whilst you are building it, they have to be they have to bear the consequences of not having a hospital within distance to attend to their needs. So I think that is one of the shameful acts of procurement process racketeering that has led to this rather than any other consideration. Yes, it's election year, resources are needed. So things like this are bound to happen, and I expect many of them to happen. But hey, better late than never. If the minister says they are going to build it in the interest of the people of La, we are going to say that thank you. But this government, you cannot trust them. There are 110 district regional hospitals that were supposed to be built. I don't know how many of them have been built. So in terms of promises, it is one of the easiest things that this government has been doing and doesn't fulfill them. So I'm cautiously optimistic and taking this with a pinch of salt that at the end of the day, it's going to be a long and protracted process, and the people of La will be suffering. Insensitive, if you ask me.
All right, so let's get into it. And the Daily Guide newspaper, Baumia launches 2023 African Games countdown. OSP cries over judicial losses. There's NDC supporters vandalize party HQ. Majority walks out on speaker over 2024 budget. And then Rebecca graduates 70 women in skills training. I'll be definitely doing that story. There's also this interesting cartoon in the Daily Guide newspaper. Running mate Sele, and pictured there Matthew Opoku Prempeh. Kennedy Japan. And interestingly, there's also a Catholic priest there, former parish priest of the Christ the King parish. I found that very interesting. Father Campbell in there. I don't know how his face ended up in here, but anyway, that's it. And there is the writing, Pimpna, C, Nanako. Well, we'll find out how the cookie crumbles. But we've been told by, I think it's the National Women's Organizer, Kate Jemfua, that it's going to be someone from the Ashanti region. The person is male, and the person is a member of parliament. So we'll see how that pans out. But let me get to this interesting story, though. Kenya's parliament has banned the wearing of a suit named after the late Zambian president, Kenneth Kaunda, within the building. Speaker of Parliament Moses Wetangula said Kaunda suits, as well as traditional African clothes, were not welcome. I found this interesting. Kaunda suits, as well as traditional African clothes, are not welcome in Kenya's parliament. And that's the preference of Kenyan President William Ruto. And now he is going to have to find other options. But Rebecca graduates 70 women in skills training. 70 women in the Greater Accra region have graduated in baking and soap making, courtesy of the Rebecca and KGL foundations. The women were trained as part of the Terema initiative by the Rebecca Foundation, which seeks to empower women economically by giving them employable skills through training. Of course, I'm talking about the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo. Well, those are the stories. And I just might add this final one because there's only one substantive story, the Rebecca story I've done. And the Business Finder, IPPs on life support over $2.3 billion debt, threatening potential power supply crisis. That's the last story I'll do, and it's a wrap. So, in a stark warning, the Chamber of Independent Power Generators in Ghana has raised concerns about the sustainability of electricity production, indicating a potential crisis if the government's outstanding debts are not settled promptly. The chamber revealed that its members were owed a staggering $2.3 billion, emphasizing that discussions with the government regarding a payment plan had failed to yield positive results over the last 3 months. That's how we wrap. Your take, and then we're gone.
Yes, Ben, I think I would start with the First Lady's initiative. And I think that despite everything, she is one of the exemplary
she's been doing very well, and that's why when I see stories in respect of her foundation, I bring them up.
She came to her husband behind the stage and not overly out there insulting the husband's political opponent. So she appears as the peacemaker that you expect the First Lady to be, enjoying respect across the respect. And she's making an impact where it matters most as far as skills training is concerned. I want to say that thank you, First Lady. We are grateful for being an example. I want to delve a little bit on the running mate saga of the New Patriotic Party. I have found the posturing sometimes disturbing. Being a Northerner, I know how we are treated. I don't have any qualms about it. We have worked hard to ensure that some people respect us. But if you see some of the grotesque images, especially by one of the aspirants from the Ashanti region, I think that is way overboard. The glorification of another human being, kneeling down on your knees and begging and doing those gestures. We all know how the Vice President has been treated these last 4 years. I know somebody very deep in the MPP who told me the guy was used. So you are the same guys that drove him from economics and is now trying to find a space for himself in digitization where he's an amateur. And then because you want him to select you, you are all over the place and see this is how you've been treating the vice president. I think it's an attempt to fool Ghanaians. If you, in the event that your party gets elected, you're going to slap the vice president in public and salute him in public and slap him in private. So I don't want to be fooled. I don't think that those gestures are genuine. It's just to shortchange the process.
I want your quick thoughts.
I also don't comfortable with that.
I want your quick thoughts because of time. Time is not our friend. On the IPPs and the $2.3 billion debt, do you have a very quick reaction? Hello, Dr. Ayamga.
Yes, Ben, that's the line that we are walking in. We are tiptoeing in a field of disaster if we do not find a way of addressing the issues of the independent power producers in a sustainable manner. We have begun receiving inflows from the IMF, and it looks like we are not prioritizing the independent power producers who are the lifeline of our economy. If we do not do something more concrete and we do not come up with an elaborate program to ensure that their debt situation is improved, we are going to plunge this country into darkness, and it will be worse than the last time, given the already fragile nature of the economy.
Dr. Ayamga.
I agree with the call, and I think that, listen, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ayamga, for joining the conversation. I'm sorry I had to rush you a bit at the tail end. It's just that we've run out of time. But we're always grateful that you joined the conversation. Now, this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Locate them at their branches here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronomo Abuehia behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa, and the Siamanzima. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, bringing us to the end of the news review. Sports is up next with Mubarak Haruna.
That this Honourable House approves the budget statement and economic policy of the government for the year ending 31st December 2024. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. No!
Scenes in Parliament today reminiscent of what we saw in the House in 2021 when the NDC minority purported to have rejected the 2022 budget over the e-levy brouhaha and controversy in the House. Today again, the NDC MPs wanted to reject the budget, and they did a lot of stuff to achieve that. There was an initial voice vote that the Speaker of Parliament adjudged to have been warned by the A's, those who supported the budget, and the minority were on their feet. Listen to Akufo-Addo challenge that decision of the Speaker.
On Order 1132 to call for a head count to challenge your ruling. And so,
but even before the Speaker of Parliament will go ahead and conduct that head count, the majority MPs will not agree. According to them, the NDC MPs have completely adopted a process that is alien to the House.
It's most unnecessary and should not be entertained by. There is nothing before you. We can't proceed to do a head count when there is no primary application challenging the voice vote. Mr. Speaker, I therefore submit that secondary step that he is urging on you to proceed on is neither here nor there, Mr. Speaker. It is as simple as an odious submission, and Mr. Speaker should dismiss him.
There was a back and forth over this for nearly an hour before the Speaker determined that he was going to go ahead with the head count. But the Speaker decided that not only was he going to do a head count, he was going to call individual MPs to stand up on their feet in their chairs to be counted. This is where the majority MPs drew the line. Oseche Mensah-Bonsu led his team to walk out. But of course, not without some hesitations on the floor. There were still some NPP MPs who were seated who really believed that option to walk out was a bad choice.
You don't have the floor. If you want to entertain, you don't have the floor. For a head count, you don't have the floor. You don't have the floor. Head count on their side since they are challenging. You don't have the floor. You don't have the floor. The bill. You don't have the floor. You don't have the floor. And we are leaving the chamber for them. Yes, we are leaving the chamber for you. Now do the head count and see whether you have the numbers to overturn Mr. Speaker's ruling.
Welcome back on the AM show, and as promised, we get into many matters of national scope. And we'll be starting from Parliament. Well, joining us for a conversation on these matters we're going to be discussing, we have the Member of Parliament, the legislator for the Ningo Prampram constituency, Sam George, joining us in the studio. A very good morning to you.
Morning, Ben.
You have a rather solemn look this morning. What is going on? Is it because of the situation in your constituency?
Yeah, I'm pretty worried about the. And let me say good morning to our viewers. The flooding situation. This morning, just as I walked into the studio, NADMO called that they've arrived in the constituency with some relief material that we asked for 2 nights ago. When after I left the constituency, spoke with the NADMO DG, and he promised to put some relief together. We're also trying to raise some relief, and so once I'm done here, I'm racing straight to the constituency for us to see how we can do disbursement. Lives have been affected adversely, and for me, it's really worrying. It's worrying that this is a largely man-made disaster, because it's simply the intransigence of citizens and the inefficiencies of the bureaucratic government bureaucracy that has created this mess.
So when you say the intransigence of the citizens and then the bureaucracy of government, what exactly do you mean?
People have built in waterways. Right. I mean, the videos are there. Your reporters were there with me. We rescued a woman and her 3 kids, the youngest of them not even a year old. They'd been 48 hours stuck in the house without water or food. The house is in the middle of a stream. And whilst the stream was, we had to get guys to hold themselves because of the currents, the strength of the currents in the stream. Yes, because if one person had tried to go through, it could have taken him away. So we had 3 guys chain themselves and walk through the water to get to the house. The water was above their shoulder. That's how deep the water was. Wow. Yes. And in front of that house, in the water, that's the footage that your media house is showing. There's a sign behind the gentleman there. It says for sale, land for sale.
So that
is the land for sale thing. How can anybody be selling this? This is a stream. That's the house we rescued a woman from. So even in this, they are selling the land. They are selling the stream. I had to give money to the assemblyman to go and break open and I can share that video with you. You know, someone has constructed a road to block this stream from entering the sea, because this stream feeds into the Lalue Lagoon, which feeds into the ocean. He's built a hotel which he calls an ocean front, and he realizes that the easiest path to his place is to construct a road in through the estuary. So he's actually built a road and blocked the entire.
How long have you been aware of that development?
I was told about it 2 days ago, and yesterday we broke it up. I gave money, asked the police to provide security, got an excavator, and went and broke it up, and now the water is receding. Because that's why the water.
You mean the hotel or whatever?
No, the road. The road he did, because he basically built a road through the lagoon, blocked the whole lagoon, so the water couldn't enter the sea. And that's part of the reason why this flooding happened. That's part of the reason. And I was my attention was drawn to it 2 days ago while I was on the field, because I was asking why the water is not moving into the sea. So we traced and got there and saw that this is what an individual had done.
Do you know how long this edifice has been up?
No, I don't. I mean, that's the duty of the assembly. They gave a permit for that building to be built. The assembly is responsible for giving permits. The assembly is responsible for all of those. No, Ningo Prampram District Assembly. The Ningo Prampram District Assembly. You get it? Everybody calls the MP and says the MP is responsible, but the MP doesn't give permits. Nobody comes to me to ask me for building permits. I don't approve any permits.
So with these developments, what then? I mean, you say you're going to be meeting.
And then when I spoke about government bureaucracy, the failure of the assembly, those were the gentlemen we asked to go through the water, to go rescue the family. The failure of government to put its eye on the ball. And when I say government, I'm talking about local authority, the district assembly, because the stream that flows through has a natural, it's got natural reservoirs in the irrigation project, the Winya irrigation farm. It's got, so that when the stream gets full because of the runoff water from the Shire Hills, what you then have is it overflows into those reservoirs and then sips gradually into town. The former scheme manager of the irrigation dam sold the land to foreigners. And they filled it up. They filled it up with laterite. So right now there is no reservoir for the stream.
Yeah.
So the whole thing
so it
just goes straight into the town, and that's what's created this flooding. I mean,
these are problems that we see in different parts of even Tema now, because the plan, we're not sticking to the plan. I read something from someone only yesterday who was saying that even cantonments, if we are not careful, it will become a slum in 10 years' time because of the density in population. It was never meant to be that, but now people are buying up the land, putting up skyscrapers, and the human volumes there are just getting out of hand. Now, what is the way forward as far as this is concerned? We've seen the Akosombo Dam spillage. You spoke about that, but here it is in your own constituency. What is the way forward?
First and foremost, we need to halt whatever sale has been done in the irrigation dam. Whoever sold that land must be arrested.
Are you going to get to the bottom of that?
Absolutely. I've spoken to Brian Champong about it. He's the Minister for Agric. He has oversight over the irrigation project. I spoke to him the same day and drew his attention to it. Yesterday I spoke to the...
What did he tell you?
He tells me he's going to find out who the former scheme manager is and then investigate. Yesterday I spoke to Henry Korte, the regional minister, because he has oversight over Greater Accra. People forget that Ningo Prampram is part of Greater Accra. Accra doesn't end in Tema. And I spoke to him. He says he's going to come and visit the site as well and find out who that is. We must find out who sold that land. The former scheme manager must answer questions on what authority did he sell the land. The foreigners who bought that land and whether there are locals involved as well must all be arrested and surcharged to dig up whatever they have done there and restore the buffer or reservoir of the stream. Now the assembly also has to work. Buildings sitting in waterways must go. You cannot continue a cycle where people build in waterways and then we come back and have this crisis.
So at this point, we must bite the bullet and break it down. Let it serve as an example.
To save majority of the people. Because many of the people who've been affected have not built in waterways. That's the dam. That's the way. You see, it's got a natural spill gate. So once the water levels get to that height, you can't control it. It's not something you can close or open. You know, but it is what it is.
That is a sad development, and of course, lots of property will be affected. Do you have any idea yet what the level of damage is?
Over 600 people have been affected. Homes devastated. I mean, food is gone because water gets into your house, enters your kitchen. I mean, property is gone. People send me videos. There's an officer at 37 who's put all his life savings into building a house there. His house is not on a waterway, but there are videos of his TV and sofa and mattresses floating in his house because it's full of water. I mean, people's lives and savings have just been destroyed.
Let's stay in your constituency, because the last time, I believe it was the last time you came here, we spoke about the Dawinya Bridge.
Yes.
What's the update on that?
Well, I spoke to the minister, I think...
the road minister?
The roads minister, the week after this. I showed him the video. Again, And he said, oh, Sam, they've still not done this thing. I said, well, Minister, it's not been done. He says, okay, remind me, call me and remind me the following Monday. I did. He said, Sam, they will come. They still haven't gone. They still haven't gone.
But sometimes, do you think you could also mass up some people to do a few things? Yesterday, I found it curious when, what's his full name? Manche. He's on the MPP end. He's hoping to become the constituency representative the parliamentary candidate for the MPP and contest you. And he made mention of another such project, and he was massing up people, I think he said yesterday or something, to go there and do something about it. Why don't you do something like that?
When a kid thinks that he can do what his father hasn't done, because his father, he thinks his father is incompetent, he'll go there and get his bones shattered and broken. You see, and yesterday I got several calls about the rantings and effusions that were made here. I thought that you should have stopped him. When you sent me the link, I thought you should have just stopped him midway, because some of the things he said are unbecoming of this platform. But that said, let's be very clear.
If you say I should have stopped him, I did, but he did say what he felt was...
you can't say that everybody can come here and say what they feel.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
At a certain point in time, I thought he should have been cut off, because, he made unsubstantiated claims, for example, about individuals who he's alleging. You should have asked him to name names. You can't just sprout things. No, because you either make him retract or you make him substantiate his claim, and I'll come to that. But on the issue of the bridge, let's be clear. There's a contractor on that road. It's a government road. You can't, as an individual, as a private individual, wake up and say you are going to do anything. You should go there, he'll get arrested. The state will arrest him. Because there is a contractor on that site. His name is Simain Ghana. So what he doesn't know...
I don't think that was a specific bridge.
That's the bridge. That's what I watched the video. It's the Dawenya Bridge. It's the Dawenya Bridge. Yes. Right. You can't go onto a road that has a contractor. That's a government road, and say as an individual you're going to do your own thing on it.
That I know.
That's the law. So someone who seeks to become a lawmaker doesn't even know the law and is sitting on national TV and saying he's going to break the law with impunity. It tells you how infantile his thinking and understanding of the job he seeks to do is. But look,
don't you think that's a bit of a low blow to...
Low blow. You allowed that guy come and sit here and say all kinds of things. And you see, I've sent the tape to my lawyers, and I've asked and sent it to them and asked them to advise on legal action. Because you see, let me state emphatically here, there's nobody in Ngo Pram Pram who doesn't know this. I don't have campaign managers. I have never had a campaign manager, not in 2015 when I contested E.T. Mensah, not in 2016 when I contested Sylvester Tete, not in 2019 when I contested Michael Tete, not in 2020 when I had contested Alex Mate, and not in 2023 when I contested. I run my campaign myself. I am my own campaign manager. I am my own head of security. So if anybody comes to sit anywhere and says that Sam George had a campaign manager, first and foremost, that person is a liar, a dishonest person, and someone who cannot bear the title honorable, because they have no honor around them. And for you to suggest...
But it's the people in the end, if he gets the nod from his party, it's the people of the constituency who would...
There are three people contesting in that election. Market, he'll come last. He'll come third of the three. Look, this is an individual who...
Mancha will come last.
I'm telling you, Market here.
So if he gets the nod to go into that contest with you, Chief, how do you feel about that?
He's attacking Sam George because he thinks that will give him some kind of legitimacy within the NPP. He wants attention. Let me tell you something. The NPP in my constituency know him. In 2016, he was a polling station executive. He abandoned the NPP. He abandoned Sylvester Tete, who was their candidate, and said he won't campaign. When I campaigned against Sylvester Tete, he's part of the reason why I beat the NPP in 2016 with 10,000 votes, because he ran away from his job in New Ningo. I had 82% of the votes in his polling station. He abandoned his polling station. Such a character should not be made to lead any political party. He's gone around and he's gone to get some one or two people in the NPP who think that they can finance, and I know the people The lady who is financing him, I know her. I'm saying good morning to her.
Well, I mean,
no,
financing whom is not a problem.
Look,
you have financiers, don't you?
It is my constituent.
You have people who finance it, right?
And I'm saying to you, I'm saying good morning to her. She knows me, I know her.
Right.
And I'm saying to her that she's throwing her money down the drain. If she knows something, she should take her money and take it to Newtown and go and do salaka with it. There'll be more value to it. That guy is coming last.
I see. You made the projections already.
I'm telling you. When I told people Kennedy Japan win in my constituency during their primaries, I declared the results.
I see. So you're basically saying, I mean, in the past, he has said that you're a disaster. I think we've had that conversation before. And he says, listen, when you took on E.T. Mensah was here, and you were there, and you beat him. And he feels he's going to win the primary, and that while you may feel you are here, he can cut you down to size. What do you think?
First and foremost, like I said to you, this is someone who's run away from the constituency since 2016. Then he resurfaces 3-4 months ago and claims that he's coming to. He doesn't understand what the dynamics of the constituency are. Sam George's strength is not Sam George. And that's what people have failed to understand. That's why, look, almost every election I have gone into, the media, including Joy FM, have called it against me. But I always deliver. You know why? Because my victory does not lie in me or my strength. It lies in the people that God has given to me. I have the gift of men. It's a gift from God. You can't fight it. Look, you can hate a man. You can fight a man. But you can't fight the grace upon his head. And so what these people are doing is fighting the grace upon me. When my time is right, Ben, I would live with dignity and glory. I would leave a legacy. When my time is right, I won't lose an election in Ingo Pram Pram. Mark it anywhere.
When your time is right.
When my time is right,
your predecessor,
I would say thank you.
E.T. Mensah was there for a long time, and apparently he didn't discover his time. You had to come and
you see, that is the more reason why. That is the more reason why I'm telling you and saying this on national TV. That when my time is right, I would not wait to be defeated in an election. I would live in glory and dignity.
Are you going to be
I would say thank you. I would say thank you to the people for the opportunity to serve them and for the love they have shown to me. So when Manche Akwete or whoever he calls himself or whatever he calls himself says that
he has a name.
Whatever he calls himself. Whatever he calls himself. Says that he's coming to what. It is not me. He's going to fight the people. The people are the ones who choose kings. God enthrones kings through the people. The people decide who they want to lead them. He says he is coming on his own strength. I come on the strength of the people.
All right.
So and the grace of God.
Let me just get this.
I leave it. He should go and fight them. People are waiting for him. But I said, mark it anywhere. Right. He will come third. There are 3 people. There are 2 guys and a lady. He will come third.
Okay. All right. That is your projection. Let me just make mention of this. So to clarify, we have nothing against anybody in the LGBTQ community. Even the anti-gay bill has that. But he makes mention, just to clarify, he says your campaign manager. You say you've not had campaign manager.
I don't have a campaign manager.
In the past.
That's why I was saying
in
you
the
should
past
have asked
campaign,
him to mention who
in the
he's
past
referring
campaign,
to.
I felt that would only, bring up issues, stir the hornet's nest further. But he says that person was in the LGBTQ family. And you are saying you didn't have a campaign manager. Have you ever had anyone as a member of your campaign who was in that group?
Absolutely not. And look.
Because he says then you're being hypocritical with this anti-gay bill and everything.
Ben, listen. Go and take the tapes of the interview my opponent, Michael Kwete Tete, in the last NDC primaries in May this year. His interview sometime in April after we had filed our nominations. The day we went to file, we did a balloting. He granted an interview. Joy FM has that interview. Go through your archives. He made the very same allegation against me. So this allegation is not a new allegation. The NDC as a political party, summoned him and myself and asked him to provide proof of his claim. He apologized and retracted. Michael Kwete Tete, because the party asked him, provide evidence of what you are saying or we'll disqualify you. He had to go on his knees and beg and apologize and retract. So at
this said meeting.
Yes. And the party issued a statement cautioning candidates to be very careful of denigrating remarks and that they would not countenance it anymore. I'm saying that video is there. That video is there. So this is not the first time. Look, this is simply because people think my fight against this sin, this obnoxious perversion, they think that it's giving me some credit. And so for them, they think that the only way to go about it, the political strategy to go about it is to attack it. Ben, do you think that if I, Sam George, had any such connections with a person of that community, I'll be able to go and sit at the United Nations and tell them the truth the way I did, and nobody will be able to clap back at me by now? The LGBTQ community, as loud as they are, would not have tried to expose me.
Okay, so that brings me to another end of the conversation very quickly. The American ambassador, Virginia Palmer, in recent times, I mean, she's spoken about how if we push this, it could make it difficult for her to bring business to Ghana. You also had your say on that. I've forgotten, was it at the UN General Assembly or at the COP?
I spoke at the UN. It was at the UN, a meeting at the UN.
Where do you think that is taking us? Already, we're heavily dependent on the IMF currently for the $3 billion. The latest tranche of 600 million we've not got yet. Do you agree with her? Don't you agree with her?
Is the IMF a pro-LGBTQ organization?
I do not know. But what I do know is that money from economic juggernauts in the economic south, like the United States, are in there. That's her country.
Listen, in the United States, there are several, even leading presidential candidates in their upcoming election are speaking against LGBTQ. They're against it. So it is not correct to suggest that the American country or the American people are united.
I have not suggested that. There are states that have their own.
Listen, let me make my point. Because she seems to suggest, Virginia Palmer seems to suggest that the US's official position as a country is that LGBTQ or nothing. And I'm saying to her that is incorrect. In her own country, there are massive movements against LGBTQ. There are states that have laws against LGBTQ in her country.
Which is true, but she is the official representative of the US in the country.
And I'm saying to you that her colleague is in Qatar. Her colleague is in Saudi Arabia, and they are still attracting American business there. If she is incapable of doing her job, she should do the honorable thing and resign and go and let them bring somebody who can do business. But let me ask you a question.
But her state hasn't said that she's not fulfilling her responsibilities.
She's the one saying she would be unable to attract investment, American investment. Let me tell you something. They say, and I did that with Evans, the Americans paint a picture that there's a trade surplus on the Ghanaian side. If you look at trade, what America buys from Ghana vis-a-vis what we import from there. But who are the people who are exporting from Ghana to America? Are they Ghanaians? The biggest chunk is cocoa and unfinished crude product. Is it a Ghanaian company that is selling the unfinished crude product? It's not an American company. Listen, if American businesses in Ghana here, the American businesses that are selling our cocoa, trading our cocoa, American businesses that are trading our crude, think that their whole business model is tailored on LGBTQ values, they should leave. Other companies will come and buy those things.
But you've also heard.
Listen, let's be clear.
Even our president has made it clear.
Our president is being a coward. Our president is being a coward on this matter.
How has he been a coward?
When the vice president of the US came to stand by him and asked him about this bill, what did he say? He knows nothing about the bill, and is a private city member of Parliament.
The fact that it had gone through a series of reviews and all of that, which was the case, wasn't it?
No, but he disowned it. Said he doesn't know anything about it. It's a private number. That is cowardice. When his colleague,
but was it not emerged from Parliament?
Listen,
did it not emerge from Parliament? It didn't emerge from him.
When the British Prime Minister met his predecessor, may his soul rest in peace, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, and put it to him, Evans Atta Mills told him, "Take your money. We will take our culture and our pride." That is the Ghanaian president. When they met Uhuru, when Barack Obama met Uhuru and tried to poach that nonsense to him, what did he say? We are Kenyan people, we are proud people, we have our culture. Listen, let us be clear. And let me expose this hypocrisy. The World Bank, the IMF, If you go on their websites, they say they are inclusive and diversity oriented. I haven't said so. Me, I am heterosexual oriented. But they claim that they are inclusive and they are diversity oriented. Now, go to a dictionary and find out what inclusive means. It means it accepts all shades of opinions.
Including LGBT.
All shades. So I would not begrudge them if they support LGBTQ causes. But they cannot stop me from holding my own view because they claim to be inclusive. They claim to be diverse. So diversity means they accept both heterosexual and homosexual views. So why would you punish me for, except those institutions want to come out and say that they are now pro-LGBTQ? And listen, why? The IMF, the money they are giving to us, is it for free? Is it not a loan? Are we not going to pay back with interest? I mean, come on.
So you feel, for example, some of the stances adopted against, I believe it's Uganda, in terms of not giving them further...
Has Uganda's economy crashed? Is their currency not doing better than the Ghanaian cedi?
Yeah, but do you think...
So where is it? Where has it gone to?
Do you think then that is wrong in terms of the International Committee?
Absolutely. And let me be clear with you. You see, Ghana's ranking and standing globally is not the same as Uganda. Let me ask you, why is it that the American ambassador in Nigeria is not... Nigeria passed an anti-same-sex marriage bill in 2015. 2015, 8 years ago. Why have they not dared to do that to Nigeria? Because the Nigerians have told them. The Nigerian president at the time made it clear. Good luck, Jonathan. If you take any action against us, we will reciprocate. We will ban your airlines. We will drive your businesses out. That is a country that knows its might and pride. And stands by it. Listen, bullies are afraid when they are stood up to. And that is why it was shocking and painful to see President Akufo-Addo behave the way he did. Pure cowardice. We've seen Professor Mills say this.
The position of everybody, some people are more pacific, diplomatic than others.
There is no diplomacy. All our presidents have done this. President Rawlings was clear on it. President Kufuor was clear on it. Professor Mills was clear on it. John Mahama has been clear on it. Akufo-Addo is the only one.
The approach of everybody is different. And he has said that, it's based on...
He says it's bound to happen. His only emphatic statement on this matter has been it's bound to happen.
It's based on what the people want at any given time.
And what do the people want?
Did he not say that?
Listen, and what do the people want? Does he hold power for himself or in trust for the people? If he really believes that it is what the people want, when the CDD did its own survey, 93% of Ghanaians are in support of the bill. 93%. So if 93% support something, why can the president who claims he represents those people not stand for their position?
The buck only stops with him when this goes through Parliament and gets on his table and he has to append a signature.
But you don't give the
signal. That is where the buck stops with him.
You don't give the signal to foreign interest that for you, this is not something you're interested in. Again, on the back of the fact that his most emphatic statement he's made on this matter has been that it's bound to happen when there's a strong movement for it. It is on the back of that statement you saw the opening of an anti-LGBTQ office. What is this?
But admittedly, you just quoted him saying that it is bound to happen if there is some movement for it. Right now, there seems to be a movement. Per the CDD, the Afrobarometer...
7% movement?
Against... No, you're not getting me. A movement against it. If it gets to that point where there is a movement for it, which is what he's referencing, how can you hold him? He says if there is a movement
have you got in there? You've not dealt with your present problems, and you are thinking of future problems.
Let's stay in Parliament. I just want to do this briefly, a few other issues. Yesterday, I don't know whether it's the first time, you can clarify for me, that a majority side has walked out on its own.
No. It's the second time in 2 years, in 3 years. They did it in 2021.
Right.
In 2021, they walked out on their 2022 budget. And now in 2023, so in 2 years, they've walked out twice.
I want you to explain to the good people of Ghana, what are the processes? As far as I know, I do know that when there's a voice vote, there could be a request for a head count. Okay. But did the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, did he err by accepting the voice vote and then this entire bit about a non-formal call for a head count? What do you make of the entire...
So the processes of Parliament are clear, and Parliament is a house of procedure. You cannot call for a head count or division when you have not had a vote taken, a voice vote taken. So it is when the voice vote is taken and the speaker makes a determination and you disagree with the speaker's determination, that you challenge the speaker's determination by calling for a head count of voice votes. Now listen, the whole drama in Parliament yesterday was because the speaker did something quite nationalistic and patriotic. Normally what you have in Parliament is when they say, let's have a head count. The clerks at table just go around and claim to count people who are standing. I'm saying it and telling you here and now. There have been times those things have been manipulated in Parliament.
Manipulated by whom? The clerks?
By whoever, whether it is the clerks or whether it is the majority.
No, but they do the counting. So if you're saying
yes, and I'm saying that they have declared.
By suggesting the clerks have.
I am saying that they have declared results that are false, that are manipulated and cooked, and that is why. Because you see, what happens is you have the majority. You know, ministers of state. Ministers of state have agency on the floor. They are allowed to sit in the chamber, but they're not allowed to vote.
Exactly.
But when it comes to head counts, then you have them stand with them. And then they count. So whether it is intentional or accidental, it is up to them to do.
Suggesting that sometimes ministers who are not members of Parliament.
Yes, have taken part in the head counted. Yes. In fact, even imposters have been brought into Parliament. In 2021 or 2022, when this matter happened, Adwasafu was not in the country. They brought an imposter. I am stating.
Going back to that issue. That's very thorny issue.
It categorically. And I'm daring them to take me on.
Saying that person that
was not Adwasafu.
Yes, some videos and photos went viral.
It was not Adwasafu. It was not Adwasafu.
Do you have evidence to that?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
What is your evidence?
I'm saying that it was not her. I was in the chamber.
I'm saying, what is your
evidence?
I
was in the chamber. I saw the person.
You saw the person?
Yes. It was not her.
It's not possible for someone to, I mean, she had been out of town for a bit.
Why?
People put on weight, people change hairstyles.
Chief, I say that, look, I'm daring them. If they say I'm lying, they should take me to privileges committee. I'm daring them. And then we would expose the whole thing. And then we would see the kinds of things that go on. And that's why yesterday what the speaker said was the head count will not just be a regular count like that. They will mention your name.
Individually.
Stand. Let us be sure you are the one. Then we'll count you. What were they afraid of? Ask yourself, what were they afraid of? They didn't walk out until the speaker said, no, I want to identify everybody in the head count.
What do you think they were afraid of? Since you are bringing it up.
Because they didn't have the numbers and they had brought in imposters to fill in the numbers. And that's why they ran out. Look, we can't continue to run.
Did you identify any of these imposters?
Oh, yesterday the transport minister was on the floor of the house. He was on the floor of the house. He's not a member of Parliament. Esiama is not a member of Parliament.
But did you see him?
He was on the floor of their house.
Yes, but the voice vote, did you see him saying aye or something of the sort?
I mean,
did you hear
I won't be in a position to determine the voices of 130
Maybe you saw him, maybe you were watching him and he said aye and you heard it.
What I didn't see, I won't say. What I see is what I say. I say I saw him on the floor. I'm not saying that I saw him take part in a voice vote. But I'm saying that people like that were in the chamber. And you can see, that is the shock. They walked out without even consulting the finance minister. So the finance minister and his deputy were left standing in the chamber.
Do you think there's a way around this, legally speaking, that moving forward we can get this to work so that we don't have such incidents where ministers, who are of course non-members of Parliament, come and, so to speak, infiltrate, add to the numbers and get counted when in fact they are not members of Parliament and ought not to get counted? What can we do?
Well,
standing orders?
Look, it became a problem the last time. The standing orders are clear. That they must vacate, anybody who is not a member of Parliament, we are going to have such rules, must vacate the halls. The last time, if you remember, I think it was last year, the speaker asked the finance minister to leave the chamber. It became an issue. The speaker asked the finance minister to leave the chamber because we're going to have a vote. He's not a member of Parliament. The majority got angry. They got angry and nearly walked out of Parliament. We had to suspend sitting. I mean, what kind of reckless behavior is this? They're behaving like kids who...
You're talking about your fellow members. You want to add some decorum.
Oh, chief. I will any bobo. Upapa to ball amount. And the Abba Park. And your selection, we see me the ball coffee. And because what bon, yen select. We see Obian Bobo on.
So as it stands now, has the budget been approved or not? Your side says it's not been approved, but the MPP also says once the speaker had gone with the voice vote and had declared that it had been passed, that is it.
There is a challenge to that, and so that is where we will continue from. Once there's a challenge to it, you can't proceed and say the thing has been passed. It's not been passed. It's been held in abeyance. We are hearing, and I'm picking intelligence, that the MPP is trying to boycott Parliament today. They should boycott.
The MPP?
Yes. Yes. Because they don't have the numbers. They're trying to boycott Parliament. We are waiting for them. The sitting will start very soon. They should come into the chamber. Let's do business. They should end their November salary. How can you be running away from your own budget? Your own budget.
Are you going to be able to mass up the numbers today in Parliament?
Oh, we are ready. We were ready yesterday. We are ready today. We'll be ready tomorrow.
In the national interest, and we've seen you do this before, are you going to let this budget with a few, remedies here and there pass, or are you going to go against it?
If they take on board our issues and work on them, we are not obstructionists. We are patriots. We are doing this for the Ghanaian people.
They will suggest otherwise, that you're doing this for your parochial interest.
Oh, what did you expect them to say? We are doing this for the Ghanaian people. We're doing this to protect you. Ben, the government.
You remind me of Katie Ahmed saying, you people are going against the imports bill and all of that. Why? You say you represent the good people of Ghana. Do they represent the bad people of Ghana? You remember Katie?
Yes, maybe. But Ben, it is unconscionable for me and your MP to sit in, and I take you as an associate constituent because I hear you've worked in the constituency before. So I represent your interest. To see this government saddle you with more taxes. More taxes. Yet this government is giving to their friends and cronies tax exemptions. Why should you pay more taxes? Why their friends and cronies, many of whom are foreigners, get tax exemptions?
Tax waivers.
Why?
All right. Let's just cap off the conversation. You have to go. I don't want to keep you far beyond your time. There's been a lot of talk about the 24-hour economy. There's also electrochem within your constituency.
No, it's in Sege, in the next constituency.
Yeah. So it's right outside of your...
Yes, just on the boundary of my constituency.
But what do you make? In recent times, there have been some overtures by electrochem as far as the local content in the salt mining is concerned. What would be your reaction to that? And final words on the 24-hour economy.
I don't understand the electrochem question. Overtures and...
There have been, I think, the concessions. There have been some overtures in terms of the local people to have more access, to do a few things more. I think, I don't know whether it's donations that have been made in recent times.
No,
but you see electrochem, extending.
I have the electrochem issue, but it's not my constituency. But it's my constituency. But my knowledge of it is simple: that electrochem must and should give access to the locals to run the community pans. And I'm aware that that is being done. I'm aware that in the last harvesting season, the community pans were developed for locals and they extracted on their own and sold. If we need to do more of that, if there are more communities that have to be brought on board, I encourage electrochem to do that. Okay, but you cannot deprive the locals of some access. But you cannot mine. I think some of the problems I'm hearing is about where some of the locals want to mine, which will compromise the entire operation of the entire salt mining, because I think that's where the intake is. If you can create community plans for you, and the whole community will benefit, not an individual, I'm all for it. And so I think that is the way to go. Electrochem must ensure that they develop more community plans for the benefit of the locals in Ada. And we must have an end to this violence. The violence must stop.
And that was what I was about.
The violence must stop.
The last time another person loses.
Yeah, the violence must stop. These are my Dangwe brothers. They are losing their lives. It must stop. You get it? But it must be for the benefit of the community, not individuals. Okay, and I see traces of individual interest playing up here and there. The community plans must be developed for the benefit of the people. 24-hour economy. Chief.
And that's the final bit.
Chief, see, I always say that when you see the NPP go into hyperdrive and overdrive, in trying to poo-poo something or react to something, you know that you've hit their soft underbelly. Same way when I told you that Bawumia is a Christian, but Muslim by day, Christian by night. You see the way they all went into overdrive. It's the same way they've gone into overdrive against the 24-hour economy. My brother. The 24-hour economy. Now Bawumia says that there are chop bars that run 24 hours. I hear he has one in Wale Wale. I want to visit the north. You should show me his chop bar that operates 24 hours. Listen, the 24-hour economy is a game changer. The 24-hour economy is going to create jobs. And look, in my sector,
it's easier said than done.
It's not. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
There's paper talk.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. In areas like ICT, where I play, that space where I play, with Ghana's unique position, and making Ghana the next BPO and KPO destination, you can create 3 cycles of jobs, servicing 8 hours behind you, the Eastern Coast and Latin America, servicing Europe, which is 2 + 2 - 2 GMT, and then servicing the Far East, which is 8 hours ahead of you. So at the end of the day, when people talk and don't understand, and you see, it makes people run into gaps. I've heard Bawumia say that he's produced 7, he says that the Ghana card, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you've seen that video, Ben. He says we've produced 70 million Ghana cards. Have you seen that video?
Which video is that?
Dr. Bawumia.
Right.
He says that we have issued 70 million Ghana cards.
Okay, that I haven't seen.
I'll share it with you. I can show it to you right now. I can give it to you to play on air. He says, and so you should ask yourself, you're forcing them to play nonsense. What is our population in Ghana? 32 million, 33 million. That is all Ghanaians. So Ghana card is not given to children below the age of 5, or is it even 15? At this point in time, under 15s are not giving Ghana card.
They're now starting to give.
Yes. So and not all Ghanaians have got it. But Bawumia says every Ghanaian has 2 Ghana cards. Except, in reality, they have printed 70 million Ghana cards and used that and printed over 40 million ghost Ghana cards that they intend to use for electoral malpractice. That is why they've gotten the electoral commission. That's why they've gotten the electoral commission to be talking about the Ghana card.
You don't have evidence.
I am not the one saying it. Your vice president is the one who says he printed 70 million Ghana cards. We must begin to ask Bawumia who printed those cards, who owned those 70 million Ghana cards. Because between me and you, the NIA came to Parliament. Under oath, Kenatefa told us he had printed just about 18 million cards. And distributed,
and of course, we know there are a number of Ghanaians who don't even have the card.
Distributed just 14 million. And there are millions of Ghanaians who don't have the card. Right. Yet Bawumia says he's printed 70 million. We must begin to investigate our vice president. He must establish where they printed those cards, who are the owners of those cards.
You don't think it could have been a slip of tongue?
Oh, and his office has not issued a rejoinder to correct it.
So just quickly on a point you made, you do realize that even our workforce, in terms of efficiency, right? We have a workforce that we go to the ministries, go to some agencies. You would see people go sit there, practically do nothing.
Yes.
If this is replicated, you could have 3 streams and still have nothing much to show.
That's the befuddling of the issues. We're not saying all sectors are going to run 24 hours.
That I know.
There is no country where all sectors run 24 hours.
Running.
Yes, the ministries are not one of the sectors that are supposed to run 24 hours.
I'm just using them as an example.
Yes, so, well, it's a bad example because they are not one of the sectors we are looking to run 24 hours.
There are Ghanaians in there. They are Ghanaian workers.
I appreciate it. If you want us to talk about efficiency in the public service, we can. But in light of the 24-hour economy, the ministries are not part of the agencies we're looking or angles we're looking. I agree with you. We need to see a better efficiency in our public service. I agree with you. And that's part of the reason why we'll be looking to digitize the operational flow in the public service to ensure that everything is digitalized. You see, and we'll get to that place next year. Bawumia calls himself the digitization kingpin. We don't have a problem with it. Digitization is the first step. That's KG. The tertiary step is digitalization. And that's what John Mahama is bringing on board. Because digitization is just taking analog things and making them digital, converting them to digital. But then making efficient use of digital channels for the betterment of the people is digitalization. So Bawumia can continue to call himself a digitization king. We're bringing digitalization. It's like 2G and 5G. Completely different.
Sam George, thank you very much for joining the conversation. We're going to be moving on to talk about teacher unions and their request to the Ghana Education Service to reconsider the reopening date for fresh students entering senior high school. But the conversation we just had with the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram, Sam George, you're heading to your constituency now.
Yeah,
right?
we need to go and distribute
and
I've been informed that they've arrived so that we can do some distribution this morning. Finish that and race back to Parliament to vote against the budget in its current form.
All the best with that. We'll be right back on the AM show. Conversation on education now. There's been a lot of talk about the latest placement of students into senior high school institutions. There also is talk about teacher unions asking the Ghana Education Service to reconsider the reopening date for fresh students entering senior high schools. Well, we have a conversation this morning with those in major stakeholders in that. The Ghana Education Service's public relations head, Cassandra Chum Ampofo, joins us for a conversation, after which we'll also have the IFES, the Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti, join the conversation. Well, let me start with Cassandra. A very good morning to you. Hello, Cassandra. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join the conversation. I hope you're well.
I'm doing well, and many thanks for having me.
Great. A few days ago, I started getting messages from some parents concerned about the placement of their children into different institutions. And then we got wind of the fact that over 100,000, if I am correct, about 108,000 plus had not been placed, while about 400,000 had got their placements. What happened that brought us to this situation? I know in previous years we've come here, but looking at the numbers, how did we get here?
Thank you so much once again. Yes, 3 days ago, we released the placement into senior high school, and out of the 585,795 we had
Cassandra, for about 20 seconds, the connection has been bad. We beg of you, could you reposition so that we can actually hear what you're saying?
Okay, is it better now?
I think it's better. It's better. Please go ahead. So if you could just backtrack for about 20 seconds, we'd be grateful.
Yes. So 3 days ago, we released placements, and out of the 598,839 results received from WAEC, we had 585,797 that qualified to be placed. And so, per our system, we were able to place 477,772, representing 81.56%, a huge significant increase compared to last year. And then we had, again, 108,025 that could not be matched with any of their choices, and that's where your question came in. You know, students are placed in schools that they choose. And so if you are not able to get into any of your choices, the student will allow you to do a self-placement. And that's why after the placement, we upload all schools that still have vacancies. And I must say that we have enough vacancies. This year, for instance, we have over 100,000 candidates getting schools, more than 100,000 candidates more getting schools of their choices. Last year, we had replaced 69.24%. That's 372,780. This year is 477,000.
So like you're saying, it's 100,000 more getting placement, right?
100,000 more. And then last year, you know, We also had 165,619 students that did self-placement. They could not be matched with any of their choices. This year is 108, so it tells you that we've had a number of students getting their choices. But again, you still cannot get all of them getting their choices because they have limits. Even this year, we gave them an opportunity to choose 5 in addition to the 6. So this year's selection, they chose 11 schools. You have your first 6 schools, and then you also gave us a backup of 5. That is, you follow your 6 choices. We also come and look at your backup 5, and then definitely the system or the algorithm, it would just put you in one of the choices, depending on the grade that you had.
Cassandra,
so those that were not able to match any of their choices on merit, they are the ones that fell under the 108,000. And I must say again that we have enough proof on the portal for them to do a self-placement, and no need to fear at all.
All right, so with these 11 options available, the first 6 and then the extra 5, are you still surprised at the numbers, over 100,000 still, that did not get placement? I mean, how do you wrap your head around that?
Yes, for us, we have had a number that has decreased compared to the previous year. I just mentioned the 165,619 represented 30.76. That was last year, right? Now it's 18.44. And so far, this is the number, I mean, we have this a reduced number. So it tells us that indeed the plans or the strategies that we put in place is working. And of course, we'll sit again after everything. And just as we do at the end of every placement, we have a team that sits together, assess the things that went wrong, what went right, the strategies that we put in place, and then we re-strategize and plan for the next year. And so that's what is going to happen. But for us, we have a significant improvement compared to our numbers.
Now, for those who have not been placed, what do they do? I know there's an online portal where they can go. I know of this place in cantonments close to the St. Thomas Aquinas School where they can go. But what options are available to them? And can they make it ahead of the academic year?
Thank you so much. And so for those that are to do self-placement, it's simple on the system. You know, when you go through the process of checking your placement, and then you receive the message that, sorry, you could not be matched with any of your choices, it redirects you to a self-placement portal. So you only follow the steps. You click on the self-placement. Self-placement, you have the schools. Just choose the region. If it is, for example, Greater Accra region, you choose the Greater Accra region, and then you choose boarding. All Greater Accra schools with boarding facilities that still have vacancies would show up for you to choose. If it is day, it would pull up for you to choose. So depending on the region that you like. And again, let me say that you will not see a school, for example, if I get aggregate maybe 12 and I didn't get any of my choices, the schools that will open up for me will be different from somebody who had aggregate 30. So that is also another. But the point is that we have many schools uploaded on the system, and so for such candidates, it's so simple on the system. The very place that you get to know that you've not gotten any of your choices, you are redirected. Those that are coming to Adabraka are probably people that still do not get the understanding as we are discussing on air now. And so when they get there, we have our team also explaining to them that you need to go through the process. Some would want to come for us to choose the schools or help them. We only give you the guidelines as to go, but we will not directly choose the school so that you don't get any backlash that I went to NATFOL and then I was given ABC. But we also have genuine people that are really handicapped and they may not be able to go through the math or the computer system. Then we have people there that would support them, would tell them that these are the available schools. And so if they choose themselves on the paper, then there's somebody that can do the input for them. So that's what is happening.
Now, let's assume someone does the self-placement and gets a school but does not like the school. You've explained that for someone who gets maybe aggregate 12 and does self-placement, they will get a certain category of school versus someone who gets maybe aggregate 30. So there is still some sifting through. But what if even at that self-placement point, the person does not like the school? What options are available to them? Do they get other attempts at self-placement, or will they just have to maybe say, okay, so I'm not going to school this year, and next year maybe I'll take the exams again, and what happens?
Yes. So thank you once again. You know, when you self-place yourself into a school and you do not want, you can change it as many times. And this, again, is also an improvement over what we did some previous years, where when you place yourself in a school and that is it, it cannot be changed. Now, you can change as many times. So if you go and choose a particular school and then you go back home, you reflect with your parents and you're like, oh, no, let me go again and change. I think I want to change my region. You still have the chance. The only reason why you where you cannot change is where you go and pick up admission in the school. When you go to the school to pick up admission form, and then they input your name or whatever in the system, then you are locked up. But once you've not gone to the school for registration, you've not gone for any admission form, you can change your school as many times as you please.
Now, when do you expect the backlog of over 100,000 to be cleared? Do you have any deadlines or timelines? Because the academic calendar is moving full steam ahead.
Yes, and that's why right from day one, I mean, I know by a number of people have checked. And so we encourage all those that have checked and have not gotten any school to do the self-placement. Some are waiting and we do not know why. Again, we are also mindful, or they should be mindful of the reopening date so that they do things hurriedly. But it also doesn't mean that if the reopening comes, or probably the 4th, we get to the 4th December, we've not been able to go through the process. I mean, that's it. No, you still have a chance to go through, but we encourage parents and then their wards to do the self-placement on time so that they can go and pick up the admission. Go to the school for the registration process to begin.
Cassandra, before I take your final words, let me digress briefly. We know that teacher unions are asking the Ghana Education Service to reconsider reopening dates for fresh students entering senior high school. And they are saying the reopening, the period of study and vacation dates are too close to allow parents and guardians enough time to prepare. Are you aware of this constraint, and how are you looking forward to handling the situation as far as the teacher unions are concerned?
Well, yes, we saw the letter on social media, and you know, the teacher unions are our key stakeholders, and we cannot do anything without them. In fact, our schools cannot be in full operation without teachers. And so if their leadership gives us such a feedback, certainly management would have a look at it so that we would all arrive at a win-win situation. But let me also indicate that before the release of placements, we had already published the academic calendar. It came a long time. And so the 4th December for first year was already captured. And so as a parent, if you knew that your child would be going to a boarding house, at least you are working within that time frame. You were only waiting for the school placements to be on. But in terms of preparation, you knew that they had started. Again, after the academic calendar was published, we also published the harmonized prospectus. Now we have one approved prospectus that will be used by all schools in all categories, everywhere in this country. So it's not that the church is going to use prospectus A, for maybe St. Louis Secondary in Kumasi would also use prospectus B. They are all using one harmonized prospectus. That was published. And so if you are a parent and you knew that your child had completed and will be going to the boarding house, you knew that with that public prospectus, they had also begun certain situations. But again, once they've given us this feedback, management will look at it. And whatever comes out of it, we will communicate to the public.
Any final words, maybe to concerned parents as far as their children, their wards are concerned, as far as the placement is also concerned? Any final words?
I would want to assure our parents and all our students, especially those that did not get any of their choices, that we have enough schools, enough vacancies. And so they should not. You see, as and when you want to stay, that is when the schools just filled up. And so once you discover that you have not been paid or you've not gotten a choice, just quickly do your self-placement. And then you can hurriedly go to the school and begin your admission process. Nobody should fear. There shouldn't be any panic. Everybody will go to school. No one will be left out. And again, let me also share this good news that we still acknowledge that we have students that completed 2 years ago, last year, that for one reason or the other, they were not able to go to school. Help is here. You can still go onto our portal, www.cssps.gov.gh. There's a space for you, or you can send us an email on CSSPS, and then we will just give us your details.
What is the email address?
You go onto the portal, that's www.cssps.gov.gh.
Okay, www.cssps.org.edu.gh. Is that what you said?
Gov. Not
oh,
org.
.gov. Okay.
Yes,
.gov. Okay.
Yes, please. So I will text this to a call too, so that you can probably show it on the screen in case you don't get me. So as candidates, we call them re-entry. All you need is let us know your name, your index number, and give us 3 choices. And then we would also look at it and then get the people. So it tells you that if you are still ready to admit or get all those are completed and were not able to attend school 2 years ago, last year, into the system, then we have paid. And so those that are under the self-placement model should not panic at all. We have paid for them. And we are at the NAPOL, we are at the regional solution centers, at the regional education offices across the country. And so whatever help that they need or whatever clarification, we are also there to assist them. Again, we also have our call center number, which is 030-825-8001, 030-825-8001. Also, we have our team of our trained staff also there ready to assist or to help address all concerns. And so we are available to support the students and their parents.
All right. Just a very quick one. I saw a message come through, so I'm just hoping to run it by you. Bonsu Gabriel sends in a message. He says, please ask Cassandra, what about those who got schools? So in other words, they got placed but don't like the school. Can they also do self-placement? I think you're the best person to answer that.
No, please. Once you've gotten a school, you know we have over 900 senior high schools in the country. And we ask you to give us 6 plus 5. And so if you got any of your choices, that is your choice. You cannot change. The self-placement applies only those that will not be matched.
Okay.
Their choices. That is the 11 choices that they made.
All right. Cassandra, we appreciate your time with us this morning. We're very grateful and we wish you the best as you go through all these processes.
Many thanks for giving us the opportunity to. Thank you.
Thank you. Cassandra Chum Ampofo speaks for the Ghana Education Service. And hopefully your questions have been answered in respect of those questions that you had. But also joining the conversation, we have Dr. Peter Anti. He joins the conversation as well. He is with the Institute for Education Studies. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben.
I'm sure you follow the conversation, so I'll just segue from there. What takeaway as far as this year's placement system is concerned? There are still problems, yes, but according to Cassandra, a lot is being done. They are making inroads. The numbers of those not placed are getting reduced, and they are doing everything possible to ensure that those who have not been placed can do self-placement, go ahead. If you have any quick reactions, I'll take them before I get to the other substantive issue of the call from the teachers.
All right, so yeah, it's true. I think that every year we seem to be making progress in respect of the school placement. Of course, some parents will not be happy with schools that their wards have been placed because they didn't get their first or second choices. So these issues from parents would always come up. And I think that the CSSPS team is making inroads in the system in terms of ensuring that most of the students get placed. I think my only challenge is the time that the schools, the placement was released, because it seems that it is very close to the reopening. I think it came 2 days ago, and they are supposed to go to school probably this weekend, because 4th is a Monday. So it becomes a little bit difficult for people to organize themselves and get this carried on. But aside the time of the release of the placement, I think a lot of progress has been made. I remember some years ago where we had the Independence Square issue where people were collapsing. Now you see that they moved to Nat Hall, and the system seems to be running smoothly. And I think that when we continue to assist them, I will be able to deal with this. I also believe that it is time that the proposal that have been made by most of us, that placement should be done, selection of schools should be done after results have been released. It's time that we take a second look at it, because we think that if we release the results, parents will be in a better position to select schools that would appropriately fit the performance of the awards, and that will help reduce the challenge of parents not maybe liking the schools that the awards have been placed in. The only way we can minimize that, and even minimize most of the students not being posted, will be to allow WAEC to release the results, and after that, parents would be allowed to go and do some kind of a selection. Or after the results have been released, parents can be given the opportunity to edit the schools that they have selected. I think this is the new or the next stage that we need to be gravitating towards, so that we'll be able to reduce the pressure on parents and students, the candidates, after the results, the placements have been released.
Now, there's an interesting bit. This remark came through after Cassandra had left, but it's been an age-old problem where some students are assigned to certain schools that are pretty far off, but they are supposed to be day students. What do you think can be done to remedy that situation?
Well, I've said that the first thing that we need to admit is that some parents sometimes ignore their duties, because you are supposed to have a critical role to play when it comes to selecting of the schools. Some parents leave it in the hands of the teachers, and when it happens like that, it is only when the student is placed that the parents now realize that, no, I should have gotten involved. So the first stage is to get parents involved in this. Parents should show much interest in the selection process. The second issue is that I think there should be special dispensation for students who get placed in schools they didn't select. Okay, I know that the system is designed in such a way that every school that you are posted in is part of the schools that is selected. But in the event that some students are posted in schools that they didn't select, I think that there should be a special treatment for these students, because one, it is not their choice. Okay, and the placement is designed in such a way that the student's choice is what the student is supposed to get out of the list that the students have supplied to the system. Okay, so if I selected, let's say 10 schools or 5 schools, and then where you have placed me is not part of the 5 schools, then I should be given a special dispensation where I would have the opportunity to maybe do a self-placement or something. But I heard Cassandra saying that if you are placed, you can't do self-placement. It means that those students cannot do any form of self-placement. And I think that there's a need to pay attention to that. If the person is able to prove that these are the schools I selected, none of these schools, I didn't get any of these schools, then that student or that candidate should be given a special treatment in terms of the placement that we're talking about. Yeah.
I see. Now, what is your reaction then? I mean, moving from this to the teacher unions who are talking about the fact that the window is too short when it comes to the reopening day for fresh students entering senior high school. That is the reopening, the period of study, and the vacation dates being too close. I'm sure you've seen the statement. What is your reaction?
Yeah, I agree. I agree it's very close. As I said earlier on, you released the placement on the, I think 2 days ago, and the students are supposed to report on the, I think this weekend. So on the 4th of December is a Monday. So definitely it will be this weekend. I've seen some people going to schools to get their schools, I mean, their students admitted and all that. It's very short. But let me place this.
But you did hear Cassandra also talk about the fact that parents had been aware of some of these, timelines way ahead of time.
Yeah, but I still think it's too short. So yeah, you can be aware of, but when the list is released, I mean the students' placement is released. Mostly that is when some people organize themselves. So, but let me put this in context. I think I understand the Ghana Education Service because we want to now try and reconfigure our calendar to meet the old system that we used to have because COVID interrupted our academic calendar, and now we are trying to reopening in such a way that, or arrange the weeks in such a way that we'll be able to revert to the old system. So I understand GES from that perspective, and that will mean that sometimes you have to close up the weeks for vacation, and then sometimes open in such a way that by the time you maybe enter 2025 or 2024, you'll be able to now have your academic calendar running smoothly. So I understand them from that perspective. What I don't get is that there is a committee that works on these things, okay? And that committee has got reps from the teacher unions. So when this was put together, that the students would report on the 4th and then vacate, I think, on the 21st, I think that the people from the teacher unions might have had information about it. What they wouldn't have known is when the placement results would be released. Okay, so now that we have seen that the results, I mean, the school placement came late, and that has affected the reopening date, and that means that there's going to be a lot of pressure, as the teacher unions are saying, a lot of pressure on the teachers, sometimes even on the students, and then the parents. I think that the best thing is for management to sit up and then have a look at the calendar again, and possibly adjust it in such a way that everybody will be a little bit okay. I don't know how they are going to do this, because you cannot move it to the following week. If you move it to the following week, then it means that the students are coming to spend mostly about 1 week on campus, and it doesn't really help, because some of them will be traveling. So you go to school for 1 week and you're coming back home for Christmas, and then you go, it doesn't help. So I think that maybe the best option would be either to maintain this or to move the reopening of the first years to early next year, so that everybody will be prepared for that. And this, I think that the management and the teacher unions should have a brief meeting and then agree on. I sincerely think that this shouldn't be a position that should be an entrenched position by anybody. I think that there could be an engagement between the two bodies, management, I mean Ghana Education Service, and the teacher unions, for them to agree on a common ground, taking into consideration the need to revert to the old calendar, and also the space to be given to teachers and then students and then parents to organize themselves in order that they can get their awards to school. I think this is something that can be worked out.
I see. Any final words for us as we cap off this conversation?
Well, I would want to admonish parents that, yeah, I think it's difficult. It's a difficult time, especially if your ward didn't get the school that he or she wanted to. I think sometimes we get frustrated, and if you are not careful, you end up getting yourself into issues that you wouldn't want to do. paying people to place your word and all that. These are things that you shouldn't get yourself involved in. I also believe that sometimes it's more about the efforts that we put in. Yeah, I understand that school environment plays a critical role in the performance of the student, but some of us didn't go to the best schools in Ghana, but we were able to come out of the system well. So I believe that you look at the school that your word is being placed. If it is not that bad in terms of, let's say, distance, or maybe sometimes you don't have a boarding facility, you need to go and get a hostel and all those difficult issues, but it's just because you feel that it is not a good school, I think that you should give yourself the chance to allow the child to go to that school and see what will come out of that. I would also want to admonish government, and I think we've said this a lot of the time, that we need to rethink how we upgrade our schools. And I will always go back to President Akufo-Addo's initiative of the model system, where schools within certain districts or schools within districts were uplifted, upgraded in such a way that they all had the resources like the category A schools that we have. And I believe that if you're able to do that, the talk that we didn't get a good school, we need to get a good school would reduce, because all that the parents want is an environment that the child will be able to get the quality education that the child deserves. So if he goes to the school and he sees that the school's got infrastructure, it's got the requisite teachers, and it's got the teaching and learning resources, I think that the parents would be okay to send the ward to that school. So government should rethink the model of upgrading schools, and then model what President Akufo used to do in the 2005, 2006, where they upgraded model schools. Again, I have also stated that I think it is time that ministers of education are now assessed based on the number of category A schools that they create when they come into office. So you do a lot of things, okay, but we also want to see that when the minister was in office, there were 6 category A schools. By the time that the minister is leaving office, we have 10 category A schools. I think that is also a very good measure, because when it happens like that, we will be in one way or the other transforming all our category B and C schools to the next category, giving them the needed resources, and then reducing the pressure on the few category A schools that we have. So I think it's a challenge for future ministers of education to also look at how they can convert some of the category B schools to category A schools by providing the needed resources and upgrading them to such status.
My very final bit is because of a question that came through. I think this should have been more for Cassandra Chum Ampofo to handle, but if you have an idea of it, maybe you could share with us. It's you don't represent the Ministry of Education or the Ghana Education Service, but this comment comes through. How the procedure works in terms of grading. 35 and got accepted into a grade B school. And someone had 12 and has been placed in a grade C school. Now, I do know that this is all in an effort to ensure that different categories of students go to different schools. But do you understand this entire system?
I can't explain the algorithm that is used to place the students. I think this is something that the ministry would be able to do. I understand that you select the schools based on merit. I mean, you have to select the schools based on your performance. Now, when they have finished and your results are released, you know that your number 3 choice, your third choice could be somebody's first choice, and your second choice could be somebody's first choice. So when you don't get your first choice, then you are moved down, so you are able to place, and that is how the algorithm works. But I think the inside issues could be addressed by the Ministry of Education. I understand the point that the person is making, because if somebody gets 35 and the person gets his first choice, and another person gets 12 and the person doesn't get his first choice, it creates some kind of confusion in the minds of the people. But then, if you understand the algorithm, you would see that maybe the person's first choice, the one who had 35.
So the person who had 35 got a grade B school. The person who had 12 got a grade C school.
So you have to look at the number of, the category of schools that the person picked and the number of people that applied for that particular school and the performance of the students in that particular school. So if you didn't do well, they put everything together and your performance puts you in a category or grade C school. Maybe that is how. But as I said, the Ministry of Education can have an open system and then explain some of these things to us. There's also the challenge that or concern that is being raised, and I think I have to bring this to the fore also, that students that go to the public schools now seems to be placed in schools than those who enter the private schools, especially in terms of even their performance. So I would be happy to know the one who had 35, was he from a public school or a private school? And the one who had 12, was he from a private school or a public school? Because these are concerns that have been raised by parents over a period of time. That it seems that a lot of attention is placed on the public school system, and the students there are placed in schools as compared to those that are coming from the private school system. And I think that these systems should be explained to the general public so that these concerns are addressed. And the best thing that you have to do as a parent is to show interest in the selection process. That is where you get it right. If you are able to show interest and then you know the performance of your student, your ward, you would be able to at least get the first or the second choice of the child right. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Doc, for joining the conversation. Dr. Peter Anti, of course, he is with the Institute for Education Studies. Thanks for the insights you've shared into the educational system and some of the hot topics as far as that sector is concerned. Earlier, we had joining the conversation the PRO for the Ghana Education Service, Cassandra Chum Ampofo, who also helped us wrap our minds around some of the developments in respect of the latest placement system. In case you didn't get the website, it is www.csps.gov.gh. That's where you can go get your complaints sorted out, go through the registration process if you're going to do self-placement, among others. But stay with us. We're still going to remain on education because the Amanfoɔ of Prempeh College are celebrating the 98-year group 25 years of having graduated from that esteemed institution, and they are going to be telling us about what they plan doing. After that, it will also be the University of Ghana Alumni. Well, the Amanfoɔ are here with us in the studio, the 1998 batch of Prempeh College. They are celebrating 25 years, of course, after leaving school, and they're going to be telling us about their planned activities to mark this very special day. Joining us in the studio, Basanio Kwame Jibi. He's a member of the 1998 year group. We also have Richard Fosumenu, member as well of the 1998 year group. Richard, Basanio, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Thanks for having us.
I like this. Is this from way back, or is it something that you got in recent years?
Recent years, when we were organizing the Amanfoɔ Global Festival, we decided to do something very unique. To help promote domestication.
That's good. You know, this reminds me of something we had from way back during my time. There's this long-sleeved thing that we had. I've kept it. I found it somewhere someday, and I kept it all the way from...
Nostalgia.
I kept it.
I still have my uniform still back there, and it fits me.
You still have your uniform?
Yeah. I'll wear it tomorrow when I'm going home.
No, but that's quite a surprise.
It's there. I wore it on the 20th anniversary and I wear it.
Is it because it was oversized back then and you fit in it?
It was oversized and I've not changed that much.
You've not changed that much. Anyway, I think it's only fitting to call them my seniors because they are my seniors by a little bit. So seniors, welcome on the show. But tell us about, it's been 25 years since you left Prempeh.
Yep.
What would you say Prempeh has done for you in terms of shaping you into the people you have become now? I'll start with you, Basani.
Sure, and as you rightly indicated, 25 years is quite a long time. And for me, I mean, the motto itself resonates more. Subaini Nimdie. The Nimdie is a given. I mean, we had some of the best teachers you can have when we were on campus. So the knowledge bit was there. But the Subaini bit is what is also very interesting in the sense that if you look at it as a Christian, because of the strong Methodist and Presbyterian foundations, church services and all were there. The Scripture Union was on campus, so you get to build your spiritual aspect. Of course, our Muslim friends too had their own services. Yeah. And then there was a discipline bit. Whoever went through Prempeh College will remember the former senior house master, O Square. When you're on campus...
So what did you call him?
O Square. Was more of a disciplinarian who makes sure you do the right thing at the right time. at the right time. So if you are there, you hit him. But when you step out, you realize that all the things that he was teaching you come with your cutlery. We're eating kenke and soup with fork and knife. It was so much hectic, but it was a way of grooming us. Saturday inspections, you have to dress well, lay your bed, stand by it, make sure. So all those things have made us who we are now. And forever, we are grateful to the institution for that opportunity.
Richard, for you, I mean, what would you say Prempeh has done for you?
Basa has said that, right? And I was just telling him whilst we were waiting to come in studio that I remember we used to do marathons, right?
Were you an athlete?
Yeah, I played hockey.
Okay.
Right? And many times we had to do the marathon, we actually tried to hide, skip. But today, 25 years on, you yourself, you get up on Saturday morning and you are running. You yourself on Saturday morning, you are going to meet the boys to play football. Yeah. Because you notice that what they were trying to teach you 25 years ago is relevant today. Yeah. And so for us, the college has been very beneficial and very impactful for us.
And it's interesting sometimes, especially as I can see you were in the boarding house, so was I. We rebel against some of the things, but as you age, you realize that, okay, these things actually, they aren't so bad after all. In fact, they are pretty good for us and for our upbringing. We'll leave the disco weeding days out there. Those days you were weeding at dawn. Amidst scorpions and snakes and everything.
The stone throwing to determine how far you should be weeding up to.
And I don't know whether you had the encounters with crabgrass. You know how crabgrass, there's another name for it. And if they gave you even a portion this small and threw it, by the time, and it rains, sometimes it could rain on the hockey pitch, which is where you would find that. By the time you go to this part, you weed for the entire
you weed for a lifetime.
But tell us, so Prempeh College, you call yourselves Amanfo. What makes the difference, really, when it comes to your school versus all the other institutions at that level? What makes you unique? I'll start with you, Richard, this time.
Thanks, Ben. In fact, even our founding, right, our very beginnings, tells a unique story.
Right.
Right. We are one of the very first schools in the middle to northern belt of the country, right? And the school was founded by the then Asante King, the Methodist and the Presbyterian. I don't think you find any unique school like that or college like that, like we call ourselves in the country, right? We call ourselves the King's College because guess what? We belong to the Asante Kingdom. That's how come you see the crest or the stool, the golden stool, as part of our crest. So the school itself belongs to what? Asante man. That I don't know of a school in Ghana today that belongs to a traditional, kingdom like that. That's in itself unique. And the fact that we have the Presbyterian and the Methodist heritage also helps us to have a fine balance. So we are doing a bit of tradition here, but of course we understand that what religion molds us to become better people. So that set of unique identity sets us apart from all the other schools that we have in the country.
I see. Do you have any words to add?
Yeah, I mean, what you said is right. All the other schools, I'm tempted to say, is the best. But just so we don't create any confusion next time. I won't say it, but if I've said it already. But
It's interesting at this level. When my old school comes here, Bishop Herman, they'll claim to be the best. Akraka will come here and say they are the best. Pope John will come here and say they are the best. Thomas Aquinas will come here and say they are the best. Recently, I had Mfansipim come through. They say they are the best. The Prosecans will come and say, because of NSMQ,
it makes it better.
You know, but I think it's good. This healthy competition among schools, like you rightly said, on the educational front. I mean, the religious, I should say, the religious groupings have had quite an impact on education, and across the board, from the Wesleyans to the Methodists to the Catholics to the Presbyterians. And I think it's something that just helps us to drive. It's like a zero-messy relationship. You score 3, I want to score 3 or more. So it just gingers us up. Yeah. But 25 years on, you're celebrating this in grand style. I'll start with you, Bassanio. Tell us a bit more about what you have planned for this period as you mark this celebration.
Okay, so about 5 years ago, we had the 20th anniversary. That was the time the institution were having challenges with water. So we went there and did a borehole and connected about 5 of the houses to it. So 25 years on, we set out to what else can we do to make sure that at least that we add some value to the institution. And that's what came up with the nurses' quarters. Because when we were there, if you have an emergency in the evening, it was difficult to get somebody to come and attend. So the idea is, let's put up a nurses' bungalow. If you have a permanent resident nurse on campus, if there's any emergency, there will be somebody else to even come in to assist. So that's what gave rise to it. So beyond the fact that we are going back to school, we have the bungalow that we want to donate to the institution as a token of our appreciation.
Oh, wow.
So once
you can have permanent, this is not an infirmary, it's an entire setup where the nurses can be. And no matter the medical emergency, you can actually go
infirmary
and get
to assist. Sure.
That's a beautiful edifice. That's a very beautiful edifice. And, well, we can only congratulate you on this gesture. Can you tell us more about, of course, you're going to have the commissioning of this.
Certainly. So the commissioning of the bungalow would obviously be the climax of the whole anniversary. But from today, seniors are actually heading towards Kumasi, right? And we'll begin the program officially tomorrow, where seniors will gather in the morning.
And by the way, for those of you who don't understand, they call themselves Amanfo. They also call themselves seniors.
Yeah.
And the Opokuwari people will have something to say about that. But
they're in school. They don't deserve to be part of the conversation. But most importantly, right, would be meeting ourselves tomorrow morning to catch up. I mean, for me, I've not seen some of my colleagues 25 years ago since we left. So it will be a good time to do that catching up. And boys will be meeting at a place we call venue NW9 at Nshayesu between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. from tomorrow. And then the evening, we'd have the anniversary lecture at the school auditorium. And this lecture will be given under the theme, High School Education, Reforms in Ghana, the role of the Old Student Association. Of course, we understand that we play a significant role. And so we need to bring that to the fore. And the guest speaker for that occasion would be Senior Dr. Kwame Bempatando, who is the Deputy Director General for the Ghana Education Service in charge of quality and access. Beyond that, on Saturday morning, I mean, we have to go back and visit the school field. For those of us who played hockey, maybe try a skill or two, but we'll be having games, just so you know. Again, connect again, so football, indoor games, and the likes, and would invite all seniors in and around Kumasi, and even the other schools who had passed through.
Does it include Opokuwari?
The other schools.
The other schools.
Including the one you mentioned. And then in the afternoon of the Saturday would be when we actually inaugurate the bungalow that we are donating to the school. Right. And after all that hard work, we need to wind down. So in the evening, we would have a small dinner party at King's Towers Hotel in Atahinsen. And of course, that is also manned by Ramanfo, right? And then on Sunday, because of the upbringing we got from the college, we have a lot of reverend ministers, pastors, prophets amongst us. So we'd go back to campus and go and organize a Thanksgiving service. And then say thank you to God for how far He's brought us. 25 years, it's quite a lot. He's been faithful to us. Thank Him, and then after that, seniors would depart to their various locations. So in a sense, that's what...
Well, it's quite a program, with the highlight, of course, being the commissioning of this new bungalow for the nurses. I'm curious, though, it just may have skipped me. What is your girls' school, Basanio? Do you have one?
Yes, we do.
Which is it?
It's Yasantua.
Yasantua Girls.
But prior to that was Monica's. But there's Adishare.
You've had a concubinage and marriage.
Interestingly, my wife is from Semonica, so I belong to the Mamuchi club, which is in the door. But the main one is the Amana Adishare, Yasantua. So they'll be presenting as well.
Right. I was just going to ask, in all of this talk, I hadn't heard anything about your girls. That's why I was getting a bit curious.
We were there on theirs 2 weeks ago. So definitely they are also visiting us.
They're also going to feature.
They'll be there.
To spice it up.
Exactly. Sure.
It's important.
All right. Any final words, gentlemen, right before you take leave of us?
Oh, yes. We want to express our appreciation to the entire Amanfoɔ fraternity, especially in the 98-year group. Whoever has donated or contributed even a cedi towards this. We are very grateful to them. We can also talk for some sponsors that we've got along the line. Stanbic Bank gave us some cash donation. CBS Supreme Industries assisted with a hefty discount for the roofing. Okay. We've had support from other institutions for the paraphernalia that we printed. And then the 99-year group plus Latex Foam and W Consult donated 2 mattresses which are going to put in the bedrooms as well. And also call on the many who are around to come to the aid, not only of the institution, but any other institution that you attended. Before we came in, I overheard you discussing the placements. I'm sure by Monday, we'll have a conversation on the space allocations for the students as they are going. So in as much as with the free education, we need all to come to the table, support in one way or the other to ensure that our students or our children or our wards who are going there are comfortable and also be able to enjoy from what we left off.
All right. So interesting developments. And it's just because you've gone down the road of talking about the school placement system and all of that, it's created, it has had its own challenges, so to speak. One of those is what you've made mention of in terms of accommodation, because, I mean, Presec, for example, I am told sometime back they had about 400 plus students. Now they have thousands of those students. And this is replicated across the length and breadth of the country. But what are the plans? I mean, what do you know so far in terms of this expansion and being able to meet the demand? Because every year you realize that there are top quality students, but there's simply no space to absorb all of them. I mean, what ideas do you have which you think maybe could be brought forward? The educationists are also watching. Okay.
Great. I mean, that's why the role of the old students are always important, right? Because realize that the old students are resourceful. Yeah. Not just in terms of cash, but in terms of the
sometimes it's the skill
and the expertise. So, for example, for our bungalow that we are donating, was actually supervised by an Amanfoɔ 98 who's a building contractor.
Okay. I was about to say architects.
Exactly.
Yes, all of them in there.
So when the schools tap into these old students, obviously the ideas we generate, the funding that we can help raise would help in putting up some of these infrastructures. For example, when we were in school, we had how many houses? About 6, but today there's 10, right? Okay. So the old students will continue to support the government, because for us, the schools shaped us. It made us who we are today. So there's no way we'd ever shirk that responsibility. It's just that we need to continue having the conversations with all the relevant stakeholders so that collectively we can give off the best possible things we can for the schools that shaped us into who we are.
And Ben, on the day schools that were put up earlier, which are a bit far off from the localities, I think it's about time, it doesn't matter which government is in office, puts up residential accommodation to augment those administration blocks that are there already. So that at least if people are posted there, if you are far off and you complain about it, I overheard you talking about people being placed far off, at least there will be residential to accompany the academic blocks that are there. I think that will go a long way to also make sure that institutions are well.
That's a brilliant suggestion you have there, because like we said today, there are those who through no fault of theirs, are placed in day institutions, but the distance, it's not possible to cover such a distance every day. And so that would help accommodate some of those people. But we're grateful for your time. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, Richard and Basanio Kwame Jebi and Richard Ofosumenu, both of the 1998 year group. It's all about Amanfoɔ, the seniors. 25 years on, they're helping to actually aid their alma mater with this Nurses Bungalow and the activities they've planned. If you remember, of course, they would want to see you there in the course of this week. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for having us.
We'll be back to talk about Alumni Connect, and I'm an alumnus, proud one of the University of Ghana, and we are connecting. Oh, I see them also. Oh, we are all members. Okay, so this one, in this club, I'm a member, all of you are members. I see. All right, so we'll be connecting. That is indeed. We'll be telling you more about the program of activities up next on the AM Show. Well, thank you very much for joining the conversation this morning. We also have our connectors when it comes to the Alumni Connect that we've been talking about. And joining us for a conversation, we have Jemima Owusu-Bang, Global Executive Member, KNUST Alumni, and Kojo Brimpong, alumni of, or an alumnus, I should say, of the University of Ghana. You know, it's a number of universities, all of these tertiary institutions banding together for the Alumni Connect. Our guests are going to be telling us more about this event. Thank you very much, Jemima and Kojo, for joining the conversation.
Thank you. And
Right.
good morning to your listeners.
Great. Now, this is a bit of a novelty, isn't it? Putting all these institutions together. It's not the first time that some have come together, but I see that in this instance we're trying to get so many of them together. Tell us, where did this idea come from? I'll start with you.
Well, it came from the alumni office. Last year, as part of the 75th anniversary celebration for University of Ghana, we had a walk last year on Farmers' Day, and it was a very successful event. There were lots of people, and we realized that the networking session after the walk actually was helpful for a lot of people.
Okay.
So the thought was that this year we'll repeat it. But along the line, the idea came that why don't we bring all the universities together? Because we'll have people, a lot of intellectuals, a lot of skills, a lot of abilities, people with ideas, and then we can feed off each other as we experience ourselves.
And from your end, I mean, KNUST, you have your own programs from time to time, but you're also joining the bandwagon. What got you interested in this campaign, this event?
Looking at it from this thought that came from alumni from Legon, and looking at what numbers can do, KNUST alumni thought it is good to join this collaboration and to also bring in and roll in other alumni from our university to also, forge on or push this idea that Legon has. And I also believe in the networking, which is also great, and then the fitness that comes with it because it's a work.
Indeed, it is, and we all want to stay healthy. Yeah. But another aspect, Jemima, of the conversation is apart from networking, we're also celebrating those unique educational journeys. You look at, what was even the name? The Gold Coast, the University of Ghana.
Yeah.
The initial name, I'm just trying, I don't know why it's gone. The University College of the Gold Coast.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It's come a long way. KNUST in the Nkrumah era has come a long way. All these institutions. We're also celebrating those unique educational journeys. Yes. I mean, how excited are you about that?
I'm very excited because KNUST turned 70 2 years ago, and we even started this bringing the alumni to support what the alma mater had done in their lives. Right. So we introduced this KNUST Day of Giving, and we've channeled this through any stakeholder who is interested, and I believe that it could push the university for those in there to appreciate what the university put in us or gave us, and we want to give back what we have, the school has given us back to society.
Okay. So now we have our healthy rivalries, okay? between institutions. And as an old vandal, I know how it gets. But this also goes a long way to foster unity. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, you know, when people come together, usually divisions happen when people do not know each other. That's when people are divided. But when people get to know each other, you realize you have about the same aspirations and you have similar thoughts on issues. So coming together would actually help to unite all of us. But then that unity, we want that unity because we are all thinking about Mother Ghana. How do we bring all these intellectuals together?
Our different energies, resources, skill sets.
Exactly. And then we come together and look, we talk about Ghana. Everybody is saying, look, we need to develop our country. Now is the time. And this is one of the, opportunities that we can all come and then, we get to know each other, find out how we connect and how we can actually move forward as individuals and then as a group.
Now, with all of these, we're talking health and wellness, you've mentioned that, networking, unity, sharing our educational journeys and all. We have a series of activities that we've lined up, apart from the walk as well. I'd like you to tell us what the main highlights are going to be of this event. Who goes first?
When we talk about life, we know health is important, and that's why we are centering this, coming together around the walk. Once we have done the walk, the next would be, there will be a series of small talks by representatives from all the universities, telling them about activities the university have, because a lot of times what happens is that the alumni has no idea there's a big disconnect between the schools and the alumni. And a lot of people, until last year, I didn't know most of the activities Legon was actually having. It was just last year that I got involved.
Now we're in the 75th anniversary.
Exactly.
My former School of Law is doing its own thing, setting up a new complex and all that. So, which department were you in?
I actually did sociology and archaeology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So two different.
So we are talking about coming together to understand or have an idea of what the university, the plans of the university, the aspirations, what they want to do, and how the alumni can help. Right. A lot of times we also forget that once we are involved, these are the highest, educational institutions. Sure. We depend on them for research on how to move the country forward. And they would also want the alumni to support them with the money so that they can do the research. Because of the disconnect, a lot of times we say, they don't do research about the country. They do, but it is far from us, or we are far from them, so we don't understand what they have in their books.
The essays and all of those other things.
And all the things they do and how we can actually take advantage of them. As the business environment, how they can take advantage of the research the university does.
Right.
Yes, so these are opportunities for all of us to get there, understand them, and let them also understand the challenges we face, and then find a way to converge so that we can all build a nation.
Well, thank you very much for joining the conversation. I just caught from the corner of my eye one of the products, Raymond Akwa, whom I am always teasing in here for clear reasons. He wants to find himself here, but he won't be here. He's not mic'd up, Raymond Akwa. Anyway, we are all going to partake in the walk, and of course, maybe final words, some 10-15 seconds each. Final words.
Okay, so for me, I said everybody, networking is important. I was just talking to a judge before we came in. When we talk about networking, we want people to see it this way. Think of a farmer who goes out to sprinkle seeds. That's what networking is about. Once we connect, we have sprinkled seeds, but then we need to nurture it, we need to water it to grow. Okay. And then from there, we can harvest the fruits of our network. So there's a lot for us to.
All right. I'm going to give you a few seconds because you have to go on radio as well. I don't want to keep you.
Okay, so I'm calling on all alumni to join KIVAS, UPSA, all the universities. Exactly.
Central University,
all the
as long as you're a graduate.
Exactly.
We want everybody there.
Just join and make it fun, make it lively, and it's going to be good.
Yeah. And then one last thing. Yeah. Look, there are going to be grills, and we are talking grills.
Actually, 13 will be there.
rabbit, duck, the unusual ones. And this time we want everybody to come.
Unusual grills.
Yes.
And that's the promise. So Jemima Usuba, Global Executive Member, KNUST alumni, and of course, Kojo Brimpo, alumnus of the University of Ghana. You will not make it on radio. If you chip in, you will not make it on radio.
You know, just to boost those alumni thing, KNUST, the Spinters chapter, is being inaugurated today, this evening, at Villandro. So I'm inviting all alumni to come and join us.
That is also happening. Thank you so much
as well.
for joining the conversation.
Thank you as well.
We'll take a brief break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Well, this is how we cap off the AM show, but just a quick announcement to you parents and students. Those of you, the students, who left school some 2 years ago, that is the BEC, but could not get placed into any schools, you can visit any of the Ghana Education Services Solution Centers, that is the regional education offices, and the NAT Hall in Adabraka. You provide these details, your name, your index number, your year of completion. You get to select 3 schools, and the regional centers will collate and forward to the GES for the placements to be done. And this is from the Ghana Education Service. So just stick to the rules and you will get placement. That is how we cap off the AM show this morning. Up next, Joy News Desk.